What's the plan, Jim?
Wayne?
Yes?
You're going to load your car with some flammable stuff, get yourself a change of clothes.
Yes?
Then going to torch his car, then get out of there. Yeah.
You sure that's a good idea?
Do you really want to be trying to get out of town in a stolen car? We need to just get this done, get this sorted, and get it going.
You bet a mortal in full fucking view of the kind. I mean, Moses, I brought you here to help make things better, not make it worse.
Yes, but before I hunt, I need to pop back to my flat, and then I need to go and see Michael Chase, because I think he's probably waited long enough now. That I have a plan to try and soften it a little, but I'm not sure it's going to work.
Why would you have no choice?
None.
Because of a fucking
I thought I had a choice, but I was wrong.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode of Blood on the Thames, a Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle set in London, England. With me tonight,
Carlos playing Moses of Clan Nosferatu.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm playing Benjamin the Malkavian.
Hi, I'm Rachel. It's still Halloween, and I'm playing Katia Stern of Clan Tremere.
Hi, I'm Phil playing Jim Roy Woods of Clan Kengrel.
It's Halloween, guys.
we have time-skipping Rachel back with us this week.
Oh,
And,
yes, you.
Yeah. Without you, they were guideless. The mayhem.
Yeah,
Masquerade breaches.
We missed your
At
common
this
sense.
point, do any more breaches make a difference?
Actually,
They do.
I think the Second Inquisition already literally has its own data.
Actually, they do.
So, guys, if you'd like to do a recap for us.
Okay, after the fight with Chris Young, Lucy was taken by the police, and Susan was nowhere to be found.
Yeah. And then the body of the torpid Chris, that is the word, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Was transported via stolen vehicle to the drop-off point with the Tremere, which was successfully handed over. These teeth are going to fall out. And Katia went with the body and has gone back to the Chantry with said body.
Then Moses had a little conversation with Plucky Jake, the Nosferatu primogen, who introduced him to Rusty Joe, a big old shovel that helped him lose half of his jaw in the process. And he was warned that, well, he was punished for breaching the masquerade, and he was warned that if he would mess up again, dire consequences would be following Susan.
Yeah. Back at the Crosstowns, the ghost has been making itself a little more known, knocking doors and banging everywhere, and seems to be particularly interested in Katia's room for some reason.
So the stolen car that Rachel mentioned was disposed of by Jim and Benjamin, and because it's us, we set it on fire. And then Benjamin went to see Michael Chase, the Toreador primogen, to apologise for A, saying no to him, and B, saying no late. And after being socially crushed and generally outmanoeuvred, he was allowed to feed at Michael's club, the Purple Turtle, and he is now drunk.
God, you painted such a negative picture. I thought that went really well.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Benjamin was pretty pleased, to be honest, by the end.
So now, where is everybody towards the end, guys?
Hang on,
Sorry,
find out.
we got a little bit.
Apologies.
Moses was battered, bruised, and broken, so he went home. He was being consoled by his Bruja friend Alice. She allowed him to feed off of her, putting him one step closer to a blood bond with her.
Cool, and now, as we go into this episode, I believe that Ben and Jim are separately making their way towards Ben's Haven. Moses is at his own flat, his own haven, and Katia is still within the Tremere Chantry.
Yes. See, that is where we left off.
Also, it's probably worth, if you hear loud pops and bangs, it is firework night here, so that's why. There are gunshots.
It's not just really, really cool sound effects that we've added in the background, which we could have gotten away with saying. No, it's
No, fireworks.
So, to begin episode 10, Moses, you know where you are, currently enjoying a oddly tranquil, given the recent events, evening with Alice, who, true to her words, doesn't go anywhere. There is a minor bit of tension there, almost like the act of feeding off of her. Whilst you feel better, and whilst you're feeling closer to her than ever, she seems to have established a mild bit of distance between the two of you. It doesn't stop her from engaging with you. It doesn't stop her from comforting you or anything. But there's a tension there that wasn't there before. But at this point, you're largely oblivious to it. You're happy
I
as
don't
you
feel
are.
it. I'm
you set
putting
off your-
her favorite movie or series or whatever,
So
and we're watching it together.
I was going to say Sons of Anarchy, but I don't think that's out yet.
No. It's probably The Matrix and something else.
What pain in the ass said it in 2001.
Come on. The Matrix was 99, so probably the second one is coming.
What second one?
I'm sorry?
What second one?
Yeah, there is no second film. You know that. Yeah. It's only the first.
And Benjamin, after your whole affair with
Michael.
Michael, do you know what? Start again. Your whole business with Michael has now left you feeling pretty good. I mean, this was something that you were fretting about, or something that you worried about, and I mean, the drunken buzz does help.
Yeah.
You're not going to lie. And now that you are out of the Purple Turtle, you feel a bit more liberated. Kind of like someone that's been in a situation that they're really uncomfortable with for a while, and then all of a sudden, social pressure's gone. And you're feeling a lot better, even when you receive Jim's message asking for sanctuary for the night. Providing him with an address, and you begin making your own way back towards your haven. And Jim, you begin doing likewise. Yeah. Whilst all this is going on, Katia, since you left the company of your poetry friends after recovering the torpid body of Chris Young, you made your way towards a World War I memorial where there was an elderly gentleman who you couldn't really place within the Chantry's hierarchy, but he immediately recognised you guys as you pulled up, and then when he nodded towards the alleyway that you guys drove up towards, two young-looking individuals in tracksuits came out, met you, and began covertly stowing Chris away into this alleyway, and you, in the company of these two individuals who you know to be Andre and Seamus, had turned the corner and taken into a second car, which, once Chris had been unceremoniously piled into the rear of this vehicle, began taking off towards the Chantry. Neither one of these individuals speaks to you on the way there, but given everything that's going on, it's nice not to have to be speaking to anybody. They give you a few looks in the rearview mirror as you're sat in the back, and you can hear the gentle thudding of the body rocking back and forth in a boot, which has probably got a few items in there. Probably brings you a bit of triumph. And with this body in tow, you make your way towards the Chantry, and before too long, you pull up in front of it and you step out. Both of them kind of give you a nod and then begin taking the vehicle out around the side of the building with Chris in tow. But before they go, they gesture towards the doorway leading into the Chantry, clearly intending for you to go inside, and then they vanish around the corner.
I make my way inside. I take these out now. I can actually do stuff.
Stepping into the Chantry, into this familiar halls, it's reinforced to you now just how safe an environment this feels. I mean, given everything that's gone on, given the whole trespass and the danger that you've experienced in your own haven, it's reassuring to be in this numerous number of hallways where you know there are other Tremere, you know that very few people know about this building, it's certainly outside of the clan, and no one stepped inside of this building that isn't part of the clan. And with this sense of security almost, and the sense of lingering triumph of having brought him in, you begin making your way back towards your own domain, your own room that you used to stay in. But before you get there, one of the acolytes notes you and just directs you towards that big chamber filled with books that you know Sabine likes to frequent. You go in there?
Yes.
Okay. The acolyte doesn't join you, but you begin making your way straight there, and as the doors open out, you recognise the immensity of this chamber, crammed with the books on the different levels, and although the smells and the sounds of this room with the ticking of the clock and everything is a comfort to you, it's immediately offset by the presence of your sire, who is sat at the round table alongside Sabine, opposite ends of the table, with a cluster of papers and files on top of the table, as well as a single jar and a number of books. Oliver. Oliver is in the middle of looking over some of these notes and doesn't look up as you come in. Sabine looks towards you and studies you for a moment, and whether she guesses that you've been successful or not, she just offers you a nod. And then she glances up and then glances back and then just gestures for you to come closer.
Make my way towards them.
Do a wits plus awareness for me.
Okie dokie, straight in.
Yeah. Let's get these
This is
dice.
going to be all hunger dice because I'm pretty hungry. I've been very restrained. 2 successes.
Okay. As you enter into the room and you start making your way towards this table, it becomes immediately apparent, both from Sabine's own glances and the slight sensation that goes up the back of your neck, that you're not in this room on your own. And as you kind of glance around and up, you realise that there's a white silhouetted figure up on the balcony above, observing. And as you glance up to try and get a better look as you're moving towards the table, the figure turns away and moves from the edge of the balcony. But you swear you see larger figures shifting with them, almost as though detaching from the shadows behind them, almost like the decorations themselves are moving. And then as you move towards the table just directly behind it, Sabine says, "I'm glad to see you've returned, darling. If you could take a seat."
Of course.
The moment that you take a seat, you hear footsteps, gentle footsteps, coming from the balcony above, almost as though whoever's up there has stepped off the carpet and onto the wooden flooring, and it echoes almost to an unnatural degree in this chamber. It's a vast chamber anyway, but it's very, very light footfalls, and then followed by and then as you glance up, the individual that you see coming down the stairs is a young woman, can't be any older than about 14 years old, dressed in a very old style dress, and she's very, very pale. Her hair's pulled back almost in a twisted bun, almost like there's not a lot of effort that's gone into holding it there beyond keeping it out of her eyes, and she just moves down the stairs very, very slowly, and she has a very impassive expression on her face just as she's comes out of the room. And then she pauses halfway up and turns and looks at you for a long, long moment. And she has her fangs extended, and it takes you a brief moment of studying this dress to place it as perhaps Elizabethan era. And then, after considering you for a moment and then considering the two kindred on either side of you, Victoria Talbot continues down the stairs, the regent of the Chantry. And as she comes to the base of the stairs, you can hear from up above, and a second glance up, you recognise that two of the monstrous setting pieces of up above twist and begin shifting off, moving away, and taking up a position almost overlooking the room. And although you've never seen one move, you recognise these as gargoyles. And Victoria just moves towards the chair, one of the larger of the chairs around this table, and very demurely just sits herself in it, and then just says, "Apprentice Stern, I feel like we have a lot to talk about. Your sire and your mentor have asked to be present when I do so, and I've agreed. Could you take the urn from in front of you, please?" And as you lift it, it's very light, and cupping it between your two hands, you realise that it's about a quarter full with ash. Apply it to your forehead, please.
I do as she bids.
Do an intelligence plus occult roll. Or,
So be it.
or, your choice, intelligence plus blood sorcery.
I'll stick to occult.
4 dice.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes.
Nice.
Although the name of this particular ritual escapes you, you immediately recognise its purpose, even as you begin applying the ashes. These particular ashes are taken from an old kindred, or a kindred of the clan, and when applied and prepared suitably beforehand, for a sufficient amount of time, any lies you tell result in the ash burning you as though through fire. And as you think about this, you begin applying it to your forehead, and then your fingers come away, and with considerable composure you try and get it off the ends of your fingers, and she just watches you across the table. It's odd. It's like being watched by a mannequin, just because unlike Oliver, unlike Sabine, who have little subtle shifts, even though they're making no pretense of being alive, there's subtle shifts in the way that they move that remind you they're there, and Victoria just doesn't. Every time, the only way she moves is when she's doing something with purpose. Otherwise, she is just very still. And it's unnerving for someone so young to be in the presence of someone clearly so old. You understand what the ashes do?
Yes, Regent.
The pictures. And Oliver follows the pictures, spins them on the top of the desk, and just pushes them towards the Regent. And she considers it. He nods, quite a low nod, and then turns it towards you and just shoves it across the table in your direction. Do you recognise the individuals in this picture, Apprentice Stone?
Is it the picture from
You
the
recognise
adult?
upon this picture, from the CCTV footage, Moses biting the arm of Chris Young in a manner which is clearly unnatural. There is no mistaking a frenzy, even not a full frenzy, a frenzy-urged vampiric bite from a Nosferatu on someone in public. But the angle of this particular picture picks up Will in the same booth with a knife jutting from her chest. And as poor as this CCTV is, her face is unmistakable.
I recognise all three.
And who are they, Apprentice Stone?
That is Moses Nosferatu, clearly member of my coterie. The other is Chris Young, the Thin Blood, and the third is my ghoul, Will Price.
You can understand the concern this picture raises. If it hadn't been recovered so promptly by the Nosferatu, we would be facing a considerable Masquerade breach. Do you understand what is going on within the clan at this present time, Apprentice Stone?
I understand that currently we are vying for a position of Primogen on the council.
Are you aware what the clan has had to go through in order to secure such a position, or the possibility of such a position?
A great many trials.
Considerably more than just the London Blitz, our war against the Sabbat, and our war against the Thin Bloods. If the Prince were to discover that a member of our clan, a prominent but young member of our clan, was involved, however indirectly, in a breach with a Thin Blood, can you understand what he might do?
Yes.
What might he do, Apprentice Stone?
revoke any chance of securing a Primogen position on the council. And
That would be our failing. What would he do with you, Apprentice Stern?
I can only assume I would be put to death quickly.
And your coterie?
And the rest of them as well.
And your ghoul?
Naturally, she would also be executed.
So you understand the responsibility that has been unadhered to,
Yes,
and you accept said responsibility.
I do.
Sabine has spoken very highly of you, and she has argued that this is a first offence from someone who is otherwise a prominent member of our clan, or at least a promising one. Your sire has not been so generous. Now, I am willing to consider that perhaps this was merely a mistake, albeit a considerable one, at an inopportune time. But you can understand my concern. You have brought us the offending thin blood, and that will at least allow us to deal with the offender. There is, however, another matter of concern. Apprentice Stern, where is your ghoul?
My ghoul is currently in hospital. I believe in critical care.
So she is noticeably wounded
Yes.
in the hands of medical professionals with accelerated healing. Can you understand why this gives us cause for concern, Apprentice Stern?
Yes.
You have 2 hours, Apprentice Stern, to gather your ghoul and return her to the Chantry. Whereupon we will bestow punishment. Do you understand?
I do.
Are you accepting of the fact that one of you must be punished for this offence?
I am.
Which one of you will be punished, Apprentice Stern?
I will.
At that, her expression darkens minutely, and Oliver turns towards her and says, "It is exactly how I said." She places the well-being of this ghoul over the advancement of the Tremere, despite the fact that she is a position of authority outside of our clan, that she is meant to be advancing us. She is willing to accept unspecified punishment to save a ghoul.
If I may. The responsibility was mine, the failing was mine, and it seems more prudent that I do not fail again, which is the reason for accepting this punishment.
Then I recommend she be punished, and the ghoul be disposed of. If she requires another ghoul, we can compensate her. The message would then be abundantly clear. Do you not agree? The Regent says nothing. Sabine, however, says, "It's been my understanding that this particular ghoul has been of considerable use to Katia in what she's currently been doing. I do not believe that the ghoul need..." But before she can finish speaking, the Regent just lifts a single hand. "What say you to that, apprentice then. Depending on your approach, I'm going to need an opposed roll between you and Oliver.
Oh, fuck.
This is going to be a two-way conflict. Unless you want to bow out now and concede.
Well, I guess it depends on what I reply with.
Hmm?
And as Katia would say, I will accept the ruling of the Regent on this matter. My duty is to clan first and foremost before all else. My Regent.
Bring me the ghoul. You may go, apprentice Stan.
And I stand and leave.
And you can feel a slight warm sensation on the base of your skull. Were you being entirely honest when you said that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Katia's relationship with Will is one of care and concern, but definitely doesn't, I don't think, override her duty.
Okay. You can feel sets of eyes on you as you leave. And even though you recognise one of them as the Regent, you can hear that from the landing above, almost like they're tracking your movements of the very heavy footfalls of the gargoyles. The one you feel the most is Oliver's. You don't have to look around to know that he's watching you. But as you close the doors, you see him smile. Sabine, however, climbs to her feet and begins making her way to the door, almost as though she's about to follow you. But before she does, you hear, "Not you." And she stops and just stands as the door shuts. What are you doing?
I am. So, firstly, something I want to check before I leave. Are there any stores of blood in the Chantry?
There are some, yeah.
I will do that first.
Okay. How
Still
much are
a
you
member
going
of this
to?
bloody clan.
How much are you going to take?
2 points worth? I mean, I feel like taking 3 points worth would be quite a lot. It would be a satisfying fuck you, but I don't think it's advantageous at this time.
Yeah. I mean, there's numerous amounts of blood that you can fight.
Would it
so
feel like a bit of a cheeky, insulting move to take 3 points worth of blood?
try and find out.
Well, Katia have an idea because she's like lived and fed here for like 3 years.
To be honest, most of the blood stored in there is normally used for experimentation or something similar, but there is a lot of blood that has been stored in this chantry.
Well, if there's a lot of blood, I'll take 2 to be on the safe side.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you take those 2 points. Oh, by the way, did everybody do their willpower rolls?
Yeah.
To recover willpower?
Yeah.
Oh, when it rolled,
Oh.
we just get
No,
back.
yeah, we just get back.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
So, yeah, you recover some superficial willpower damage.
Yes, thank God.
Some of you needed that more than
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's definitely feeling much better now I've left that club, yeah.
Actually, I was fine with willpower. Everything else in Moses' life sucks, but his willpower.
So, you've managed to find numerous different vials and containers that stow this blood.
It's like I get out of that meeting and it's like, oh, for God's sake.
It doesn't take you too long to find them. It's not the most pleasing taste to take some of this blood, but it's enough to quieten the growling of the beast. And you recover your 2 hunger. Where are you going now?
I'm going to make my way towards the hospital via public transport, which is going to take a little while. So whilst I'm in that situation, I will be messaging the other members of my coterie.
Okay.
And it'll be a text for now. I'll probably call you guys, but I imagine I haven't quite syncopated time-wise with you guys yet. So I will send a text to each of you saying, I need to meet with you guys close to what's the name of the hospital local to us again?
College,
King's College Hospital?
King's College Hospital.
Yeah, near King's College Hospital as soon as possible. It's urgent.
Yep.
So, as you are making your way there, going by the tube, it's understandable that your messages aren't immediately responded to. I mean, they probably haven't even reached them. Certainly hasn't reached you, Benjamin.
I'm probably in the source when she sends that text.
But I mean, the purple turtle, you're not going to get a great signal on the purple turtle anyway. And even if you could, you're not likely to hear it over the din that was that music, man. I mean,
young people these days,
right? Well, old people, if you look at that point of view. With the message having gone out to the coterie, and as much time passing that you are willing to risk, what is your current plan?
I am heading into the hospital.
Okay.
Do I know what ward she was in last time I was here?
You didn't ask.
Okay.
She wasn't.
She was in critical care, isn't she? I know she's in one of those. Okay. In that case, I'm heading in, and I'm looking first for, I guess I am wondering where kind of storeroom would be, like not medical stores, sundries, laundry, that kind of thing.
I mean, there's one. It's easy enough to find one. There's one on pretty much every floor to ensure that obviously cleaners have.
Yeah, and as long as I'm not going towards wards or actual care units, usually you can walk through a hospital if it looks like you know where you're going.
Yeah.
And I'm walking with purpose.
Okay.
I know where I'm going.
Cool. Okay. It takes you, because obviously you've got a limited amount of time.
Yes.
I probably will say there's a role involved for this.
Mm-hmm.
I will let you suggest to me what role you want to use.
Okay.
That is a really, really unerring laugh.
Evil bastards.
I'm going to say, can I use charisma persuasion to ask someone? To just ask someone where the laundry is. Just like, I've wondered, I don't have hospitals much, I've just, wondered, you've got to do your stuff here
not
somewhere.
to find where the ward is, but to get
I'm looking for where the laundry is, because because you're less likely to be stopped going into an intensive care ward if you're at least wearing a uniform.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay.
Next steps.
You have to compartmentalise what you're doing. Would this count as negotiation?
No.
Oh.
Excellent on the dice.
1, 2, 3 successes.
Oh, okay. You do find one of the workers that stops, and whilst they're curious why you're branching out, I'm assuming you're not in there, or are you still in the lobby?
I'm probably near the lobby. I haven't gone too far.
Okay, so you managed to get one of the members of staff that are close to the reception desk. They come through, and whilst they kind of quirk an eyebrow that you're asking, she pauses and then just bottom of the corridor, and then there's one on the right. We normally have one on every floor.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. And she immediately rushes off with the clipboard in hand, returning back to the desk as the phone begins ringing, and she picks it up.
I'm going to head towards the laundry room as if I go there every day.
Okay. Okay. We will say that you managed to get in. I mean, it's a pretty busy shift. Not everybody's paying attention to everyone moving up and down the corridor. You managed to slip into the room, and you are looking for a uniform?
I would like a uniform.
Okay.
Just more like something like a porter, not like a senior Not like a proper like surgeons or anything like that. Just something simple that like porters would wear. People who are going to be who there are a lot more of them. They'll be running around, going from ward to ward, sorting stuff out.
Okay. Well, there's numerous articles and stuff in this cover. This is sort well, larger than the cover, but you managed to find something roughly that fits. I'm very well aware of the time that you have left. You quickly chuck something on.
I'll just get changed right there.
And begin making your way through the hospital, looking for Will. So I will say that this will be to represent the fact that you are essentially masquerading. We'll say it's going to be composure.
Okay.
I'll let you suggest a skill.
Is this to find the room?
Yes.
I'd probably just ask someone again. So persuasion,
Okay,
I suppose. Yeah. 3 successes.
Okay. It doesn't take you too long to move. I mean, you avoid the people that look more senior, the ones that might recognise the fact that you're not actually someone that works there. You manage to, duck in and out of rooms, move around corners just in time for the people to come back and forth, and the people that you're trying to avoid to slip past. Yeah. And a member of staff that you ask does direct you to the ward where someone that's in critical care is likely to be, provided their injuries aren't immediately threatening. And following their direction, you manage to get.
I would like to use blush of life as I'm on. Yes.
Okay.
As we're doing that, so I'll just roll quick.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
My luck. Hopefully that's where my bad.
Me before.
Yeah.
Oh. That's fair. That's fair.
You should have taken the extra point.
So.
I would also like to. I was planning to steal a wheelchair on my way there, or just find one in a corridor and be like, "Hi." Yes.
All right, that will be Dex plus.
I'm not trying to hide that I'm doing it, because I'm a hospital porter. Like, you have to move things around.
Okay, so you're not hiding.
Nope.
Okay.
I make it look like, oh, this ward needs a wheelchair.
All right. Okay. There are wheelchairs strewn around this hospital. I mean, most of them tend to be in use, or they're close to beds. It does take you a few minutes of waiting around to find an opportunity where someone's not lingering close enough, where this porter doesn't just come up, take a wheelchair from someone who needs it and walks off. But you do manage to get your wheelchair in and begin ascending to 2 more floors up towards the Ward B on this particular floor that you know that Will is due to be on. And as you enter onto this floor, every single bed is occupied. There are doctors and nurses moving back and forth. There are people on the reception desk, numerous people moving up and down. There are no people there for visiting, and most of the curtains are drawn. The bed in question, you manage to make your way slowly down, and Will is there, but she is unconscious. And you can basically see now that she's in hospital attire. She's led slightly up, and all of her chest is covered. You can't see any blood. You can certainly smell it over the stink of sterilization and everything, and all the different chemicals which litter this floor. But you can smell it quite keenly, as close as you are to Will. And it's still striking to you just how delicate she looks in this position. I mean, she is very pale. And with the hospital gown not covering her back, even as she is lying on her side, favouring the side which didn't get a knife put through it, you can see the curling edges of the burn wound that went up her side. And it's just a stark reminder of just how much a woman has been forced to go through in a couple of weeks.
Indeed. Alright, so I roll the wheelchair up next to where she is, and then I turn and I leave the room. And I go, I guess, a couple of corridors over. I want to keep an eye on cameras. I want to basically find somewhere, or possibly like a small room, like an office or something, off a main corridor.
Okay. The closest one is behind the reception desk, which is currently manned.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just check windows so I can see either a room no one's in or a corridor that no one's in at this current time.
Okay. It would the corridor that you were on, there's numerous people, like I said, moving back and forth. You could feasibly get her out if you were quick and if you chose a window carefully.
Yeah.
But this is a very busy...
Precisely. So the reason I want to find a quiet corridor is because I want to set off the fire alarm.
Okay. What, are you doing that now?
If I find somewhere that I'm not obviously going to be seen setting off a fire alarm, just like, ha!
Alright. There are numerous fire alarms listed throughout this
Why
place.
is it with us and
I'm not setting a hospital on fire, at least.
But you said
She hasn't
fire.
progressed to that stage. Man, give it.
Nope.
She's got
She's getting
training
there.
wheels on.
Give it time.
She's getting there. She's getting there.
Okay. I need you. I'm going to need you to roll Dex plus Stealth. There is ample opportunity for you to pull this alarm, but with the echoes of people moving back and forth, the numerous people that are turning corners, even the ones that aren't looking up, it will take you a moment to pull the alarm and get out of this corridor before anybody notices that you just pulled the alarm.
Okay.
So, make your roll.
I don't know if it's worth rousing to do this.
You're on hunger 3, so
Yeah, I'm already on hunger 3. I mean,
in the hospital.
yes, it's a hospital. I mean, one success. This is not nothing.
Is that enough?
That's the question. I mean, I've spent a while
Because
trying to
there's one,
find
that's
a
all.
good place for this.
Would you roll?
One success.
Okay, you are the active participant. You do succeed. There is a moment where you are listening intently to the footfalls. You are trying to make yourself look as, scene fitting as you can every time someone walks past and glances in your direction. It's only when you believe the echoes of the footfalls are going away from you that you grab the alarm, pull, and the moment that it sets off, you dart around the corner and start making your way back towards Will's room.
Yeah.
The moment the alarm goes off, the staff immediately react. They begin moving about. There was a flurry of activity before, but now it is frenzied. They begin moving. They begin checking where the alarm is. People are communicating, trying to find out whether or not it's a drill that's just not been communicated, or whether or not there is an actual issue.
Yep.
And it is easier for you to slip through this haze of movement back into Will's room. And she still hasn't woken. There are numerous patients that are kind of like leaning half out of bed, trying to pull the curtains, trying to see what's going on. There are a few of them kind of see you in your garb and begin like trying to get your attention to see what's going on, but you hurry past them towards Will.
Okay. Are there any other like porters or people who are not fairly senior in this room?
There are, at the moment, no.
Okay. Then I will go to Will's bed. I guess I would start by I would attempt very briefly to wake her up and just give up if nothing's happening. So a few taps. If there's no register of it at all, then I'll carry on.
The moment that you begin making contact with her, she shifts and moans, but her eyes don't go. They're fluttering beneath the lashes. She is semi-conscious. She's not waking. Whatever they've dosed her on, she's still semi-out of it. But she's responsive as you begin.
Okay, then I'm gonna try and maneuver her into the wheelchair.
It's difficult. I mean, you're trying not to grab her in an area where, she's either covered with burns or,
Yeah.
but you do manage to shift her into the wheelchair. And then with her semi-slumped, her head kind of jostling left and right as she's struggling to come around, you begin making your way back down to the entrance.
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, given the contacts I have who work in medicine, would I know? Obviously, there is a back entrance where people wheeled in from ambulances. Would I know if that's a route that you can take to leave? Do people use it in cases of fire emergencies, that sort of thing?
I mean, you could in theory. I mean, at the moment, pulling a fire alarm, people are pretty hectic.
Yeah, I'll be going towards, I guess, a fire escape then, rather than the front door.
Yes, I mean, people are rushing back and forth. They seem more intent on trying to find a fire whilst getting out of the critical cases, just in case it is. It's quite clear now that they've realised this isn't a drill. It's not at least a scheduled drill, and if it is, the few people that look initially flustered and pissed that there's all of a sudden an alarm blaring off in the hospital at this late.
I think once in a while, as I'm going past someone who already looks a bit panicked, I would probably stir the flames, so to speak, by like saying, like, just quick passing things like, come on, quickly, we've got to get people out, stuff like that.
Yeah, and he begins rushing off straight back the other way. Suddenly urged to action based upon you telling him to hurry up, and he darts around the corner, giving you the window to make towards the fire. So you shoulder it open across the bar, going underneath your weight, and then you step outside into the cool night air. And the moment that the cool night air reaches Wilson, begins stirring against whatever's...
Would I know? Again, this is deep diving into V5 lore, I think. Would I know if, I guess, a shot of Vitae, a small amount, just like on the lips or something, would cause an effect in a ghoul? Like,
certainly try it.
I was curious to see where they'll bring her around, but in her current state, I don't want her to, like, she's already lost a lot of blood. I don't want her just to snap round and go kind of apeshit after vampire blood. So I'm probably, if I was good at that, I'll wait a bit. So what do I see in front of me, having left this fire exit?
There are numerous ambulances people moving back and forth towards cars. Some people outside of the building that were out having a cigarette have suddenly either darted towards their car or rushed back into the building, depending on whether or not they work there or not. There is a clear line to your car. I mean, you'd probably risk...
Have a car.
Not to your car, to...
A bus!
Well... I was going to say Will's car, but that's not...
No, I can't drive. Katia don't drive.
We're not actually very far from there, across Thames,
Yeah.
of course.
You could basically make it away from the hospital and begin turning the corner.
Okay, what I will
We are
do
really
then...
close. We are right
Yeah,
next to
what
it.
I will do then quickly is take my long coat that I was wearing before I got changed out of my bag, put it over Will like an old lady blanket, basically. So it covers up her hospital her gown, I suppose.
You
And
begin...
then start wheeling her away.
Just as you wrap up Will and you begin moving off, you suddenly become aware of, actually, wits plus awareness. I was about to give you another freebie, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 1, 2 successes.
Okay. As you wrap up Will and you begin moving away, you look back towards the building and there is suddenly something that catches your eye. There are 3 hospital workers who are stood silhouetted against the open door leading into this emergency corridor. One's an EMT, one appears to be a staff member of the hospital, one appears to be someone that's carrying like a bloody top, almost as though he's sporting an injury of some sort, and all 3 are stood rigid, just staring at you with blank expressions.
Blank expressions.
And the moment that you begin moving off, their heads just turn and watch you as they move, and then they suddenly blink, and then hear the alarm, and then just start working, going back to what they're doing. Some people begin rushing off, another one turns back in, another one just kind of...
Fuck me.
and just rushes.
Alright.
To occupy themselves with whatever they were doing.
I will... So at this point, how long have I got to get back to Chantry?
You've probably got about 40 minutes.
Okay, and I have had no response from anyone yet.
They have all been occupied
Fuckers.
with their little bits and pieces.
Okay, and it's only a few minutes to the crossed hands from here.
Yeah.
Then that's where we will go.
Okay. The crossed hand is still not open. Mrs. Morowski's still not there, and even though there is, it is blocked off with based upon this police tape or tape that has been erected by the fire inspector. You manage to
Assume no one's overseeing it.
no, not this moment. They're not just stood there watching. Pretty certain it's not going anywhere. But you manage to slip back into the haven, and it looks exactly how it was left. There is no signs of fire that a couple of floors up has devastated the floor. I mean, not as much as it could have. Thanks in part to Kamikaze Jim. But it is
You're welcome.
eerily silent, apart from the of Will as she starts slowly rousing herself up from whatever they dosed her with to...
Will, Do you think you can stand? It's all right if you can't. It's me, okay? I'm here.
The moment she hears your voice, she starts reaching up almost to grab you and starts turning. But the moment she starts turning,
Don't move. Please, just don't move too much. Okay?
Katia,
Yes.
where is everyone?
They're not here right
Are
now.
you all right? And she starts again trying to twist.
Don't
and the
move.
exertion.
Don't. I physically hold her if she starts trying to move.
Yeah, she stops.
Look, I'm fine. See, all healed. Nothing's wrong with me.
And the ones that were watching the.
We've dealt with them. I promise you, they won't hurt you again.
You're okay.
I'm fine. The one who did this to you, we caught him. We took him back to the Chantry. You and me have got to go back there now as well.
Okay. How are we getting there? I don't know where my car is.
That's all right. I assume walking is out the picture.
I can try.
Okay, really slowly try and stand, but I'm holding you. Okay, I'm gonna help.
She grabs hold of the either side of the wheelchair and starts pushing up and rises to her feet. And she's shaky, very, very shaky, but you get a feeling that's more to the drugs than because of the damage. I mean, it's got to be hurting, it's whatever stitches she's got. And based upon the information that was passed along to you, you're pretty certain that the knife has punctured her lung.
Shallow breaths. Okay, right.
I'm steady.
That's good. Okay, so I'm gonna grab you some of my clothes so you're not wearing this awful hospital gown. And make sure you're nice and warm, all wrapped up.
Okay.
And then we're gonna make our way to the Chantry. We won't have to walk far. I'll make sure we'll take the shortest route. I guess it's probably easiest just whenever we're on a bus, just rest. Just close your eyes and lean on me, okay?
All right.
I'll look after you.
Okay. Well,
So hold on for a minute, and I'll rush up and grab some of my clothes for her.
you run upstairs to your room, and your room is pretty much untouched. There's the remains of the fire that you see when you run past it, and there's the creak of the floorboards, the ones that have been weakened by basically being coated in a flammable liquid and set alight. But you're paying a little heat to them, and it's cooler up here due to the smashing of the window that resulted when she was panicking and flailing within the room and just... But you head up to your room and you grab some clothes, the ones that you know will fit Will, and begin making your way back downstairs. And the moment she sees you emerge, she begins removing the hospital gown, and it's then that you get the full extent of the injury. When he put it into her, he didn't just make a clean cut, he embedded it in her and there was a twist.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that the cut is, it's turned in such a way where the flesh isn't sealed properly. There is still stitching there, but it's definitely going to leave a scar. And the moment that you bring out the clothes, she very, very slowly pulls herself into them and starts dressing herself. Okay. How do you want to go? On the bus, you said?
Bus, underground, it's our only option. There'll be plenty of people out tonight. We'll just take it slow. You lean on me as much as you need to. We'll just look like two girls who've maybe been out for a bit long, you know. And
I'll just follow you. I'm still feeling a bit.
That's all right. I'll hold you up. I'll hold you as best I can.
And true to her word, she begins, leaning on you. For equal part, probably because she wants to lean on you, because she needs to. And you take her back out of the crossed hands, seal the door, lock it, and begin making your way to the closest bus stop. And there is several around the area. You find the one that you believe will take you the closest to where the Chantry is. You're very acutely aware that you are close to time. If you hadn't pulled the alarm and if you tried to get her out another way, you probably wouldn't be making it. But mercifully, a bus does manage to turn the corner a couple of minutes after you guys arrive, even with Will's reduced pacing. And you climb on first and immediately hand the money over. And Will just walks behind you. She doesn't look...
I've still kind of got my arm around her, I think.
I mean, based upon the looks that people are giving her, most of them probably assume that she's drunk. just because she's not really focusing on them, and she's very reliant on you to just direct her.
Yeah.
And the moment she sits down, she just leans on you and just closes
Just
her
like
eyes.
stroking her hair a little bit, just like.
And then the bus pulls, there's a slight jerking motion as it goes around the corner and starts making its way back towards the Chantry. And you're on there for a good 30, closing in on 40 minutes before it comes to a rest a couple of streets shy of where the Chantry is. And immediately you guys get up. After the bells hit, get up, race off to the bus as quickly as she can. I mean, she's doing her best to just keep pace with you.
Yeah.
But clearly there's an urgency there that you've not translated to her, but she senses it and she goes with you. And the moment that you come out, you begin making your way across the zebra crossing, over the road, and straight back towards the looming building of the Chantry, and begin making your way up the steps.
Just do what they say. It's the best chance either of us have. It's gonna be okay.
Oh, okay. Alright. She says nothing else and then begins following you. And you open the doors and you begin making your way back through this Chantry. And unlike before, there is no sign of anybody in there at this point. There is silence, apart from the mounted lights are all lit, all the decor and all the different settings are all been laid out. There's different silverware adorning this corridor. It's almost like it seems to set itself in a different way slightly every time you arrive. It's one of those things you can never really get used to. I mean, it's like looking at a picture that's subtly been changed. It's like Spot the Difference, but in a more macabre setting.
We love our games in the Chantry.
And you start making your way back towards that vast room. And when you arrive there, Sabine is waiting for you. Oliver is not there. The files have been removed, the books are still there. And the Regent is still there as well. But she is seated and seems to be in the middle of writing something. And she doesn't stop when you come in, but she does glance up and then glances straight past you towards Will and then cants her head very slightly and then starts continuing to write. And then she puts down the quill that she has and then just sits back and just considers Will properly, completely without reservation, without apology, and Will immediately just drops her eyes and is very uncomfortably aware that both kindred are now looking at her. And then Sabine comes up to you, smiles, and then in a very kind of comforting Sabine way, but there's an edge to it that you're unfamiliar with. And then she just nods and then just gestures towards one of the rooms. Apprentice Stern, if you would like to take your ghoul inside.
Of course.
And the chair scrapes as she lifts herself up, just in a very smooth motion, just brushes down her dress and then just starts making her way very slowly towards the door. And Sabine already moves ahead and opens it, and the Regent steps through. But before you step through, Sabine just looks towards you and just says, "Just do what she asks."
Of course.
And then pushes the door open. Inside this room, it's a curious design. It's one of those rooms where the exterior edge is level, but towards the about a meter, 2 meters in, on all edges, it begins to slope towards a point, and then levels. And at the very center of this is just 2 manacles chained to the floor. And the moment that you all step through, the door shuts, and you notice then that Oliver is on the other side of the room just waiting, very patiently. And so is one of the gargoyles, nestled in one of the corners out of the way. And Will is kind of glancing, noting, and she notes the manacles and then glances at you, but she doesn't say anything and she keeps her eyes down. Escort your ghoul to the center of the room, Apprentice Stern.
I walk there with Will.
There's a moment of hesitation before she follows you, but it's only when you make it clear that you are moving straight off rather than showing any hesitation that she herself urges herself into movement, and she starts trailing behind you. And the moment that she's close, that's when she starts glancing up properly at the other kindred. And she notes Oliver there, and immediately she begins tensing up just as he considers her. And there's a slight twitch of his lip as he just stares at her. And she immediately drops her gaze and then glances back over towards the gargoyle, glances back over towards the regent, who is just considering the scene completely without any clear emotion upon her face. And then Sabine, who's just by the door, just watching. And then she looks back to you, almost in askance, but she doesn't say anything. What do you do?
When I reach the middle of the room, I will await to be instructed further. Assuming I don't know this protocol. If I'm not already familiar with it.
This is not something you've done. The moment that you come into the centre of the room, the only thing that is here, really, making this area any different than any other part of this really Spartan room, is the manacles on the floor. And they just watch and wait. Katia. What? What are we doing?
You already know my intention. And I put the manacles on my own wrists.
Okay. The moment that you do this, the regent looks towards Oliver and just goes, "Unfortunately, I was correct." And he begins walking around the exterior of the room, and he moves towards the regent and goes, "I recognise that I am partially responsible for this. I should have vetted this candidate a bit further. Unfortunately for her, she can no longer blame me for the responsibilities that she has so blatantly disavowed." And then he just looks at you.
Is this not accepting my responsibility?
Not yet.
Then I await it.
They step back. Apart from the gargoyle, who moves towards where Will is. And as Will just begins shying away from it, it reaches over and grabs her with a massive arm and just puts her down towards the ground, almost forcing her down onto her knees. And as she just begins looking around, clearly growing more and more terrified, she looks up to you almost as though, looking for instruction. And then the gargoyle reaches down with another hand and breaks one leg. And you hear an audible, and she lets, and she begins twisting in on herself. And as she starts trying to crawl away from it, it reaches down and breaks the other leg. And she is then lying prone, immobile in front of you. And then it takes a shuffling step back, and another one. And then Oliver looks to you. "I need you to look up a certain blood sorcery. Or
Which
if you'd
one?
rather, pass it over to me. And I'll look it up.
No, I'm the bookmaster today.
Okay.
Which one?
Your favourite one. The one you keep asking about.
I have so many favourites.
I can't recall the name off the top of my head.
Which level?
It makes someone hungrier.
Ah, that's number 2. That's,
What's the dice rolls involved?
I believe it is. I'm on rituals at the moment. There we go. Extinguish for tie. Intelligence, blood sorcery versus stamina, composure.
Roll your stamina and composure.
Ouch.
Yeah, nothing about this sounds good.
Nope. I got pretty good ball against this, but you haven't. Shit.
What was that one say? Wow, that's a tasty 0 success. Oh,
That is a bestial.
is it? Lovely.
You
I've been pent up for a long time.
You look towards the gargoyle as it recedes, and then you look down at Will as she just stares up at you, and she opens her mouth as though she's trying to say something, but it's marred by the pain in the wound in her chest, which is reopened, and both legs, which you can see quite clearly the bones sticking out at odd angles. She is completely prone and unable to move. And as she's trying to reach towards you, almost in askance, you suddenly feel gripped as you turn around and look at Oliver. And he's just muttering softly under his grip. And then you feel it. You feel that gnawing in your stomach. You feel that tightness begin gripping you and getting worse and worse. And then all of a sudden, every sensation, every light in this room, every feeling, everything, even your sight begins to diminish. And the woman in front of you becomes less of a person, less Will, but more of a single source of sound and smell. And then you hear it. I need you to make a check. Willpower.
Willpower plus my humanity, or third humanity. Okay. And this is at hunger 4.
You no hunger to.
You don't need hunger dice for this. It's only
No,
No, I know. I'm not using it. My hunger dice are red.
Okay, cool.
Does it lower you to 4?
It only takes you 1. It doesn't instantly make you frenzy. Just 1 up, so I'm now at 4.
Yeah.
Unless you got critical success.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm 5.
Oh, shit. Second one, hunger 5.
Well, you know, it's going to be one of us. Okay, so then I add 2. Check your humanity. One, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's a crit success.
Critical success.
Oh.
Critical success.
That's a crit success with, so that's a total of 7
4, 5,
successes.
6, 7 successes.
As you are feeling this sensation go through you, as everything is replaced just purely by taste and smell.
Turn to look at Oliver.
Oliver's just watching. But then you begin feeling your fangs extend, you begin feeling your body going rigid as though you're about to pounce, and then as you glance towards Will, towards this thing in front of you, she just says, Katia, please. And that single sentence, that single plea just sort of cuts through you, and as you begin blinking and looking towards her, you just realise how hungry you are, but you can't bring yourself to do anything to her. And then you hear, And then Oliver kneels next to her and looks you in the eye. Clearly you're incapable of even doing this. And his fangs extend and he bites down into her neck, and she suddenly goes rigid and begins pulling back, trying to grab at him and pulling away. And then her eyes just flutter and she begins leaning further and further back into him as all strength just begins going, and she's just staring at you almost in pleading and askance. But even if you wanted to go to her, you know that with these restraints you couldn't. You could probably reach where she was, but you can't reach Oliver. And even as he bites down and just drains, his eyes are open and he's just watching you. And then finally, her arm, as she's reaching for you, just begins getting weaker and then lowers. And then drops. And then her eyes just flutter, and then her head just lolls, and then she just stops moving. And he gets up, brushes himself off, wiping his lips. And then places his slit wrist at Will's mouth. Let's see if she can do better than you did. And you just watch as her unmoving form suddenly rolls onto this bleeding wrist, and her mouth, which before was unmoving, just suddenly twitches, and her lip moves as a tongue darts out, and the moment that it makes contact with that blood, her mouth just opens and then latches onto the wrist, and her hand just snaps up almost at a natural angle and with a natural speed, and just grabs it and just pulls it in, and he just, as she begins feeding, and her body begins spasming as he rips his wrist away after a few moments. He licks his own wings, stands up, brushes himself down, and then just takes a step away. As in front of you, she begins twitching and convulsing and shaking as her broken legs begin snapping back into place with an echoing, and then her eyes just begin fluttering underneath her eyelids as you watch with an uncomfortable familiarity as Will just dies slowly, painfully, and you know this sensation, you know it intimately. And the sounds of Oliver returning to his place, the sounds of the Regent just watching without comment, and the sound of Sabine turning away are largely lost on you over the sounds of the as she just shakes upon the ground. And then all three, Oliver, the Regent, and the gargoyle, turn and begin moving towards the exit. The gargoyle doesn't leave, but he places himself next to the door. And then the door shuts behind them. And Sabine opens her mouth as though to say something. And then closes it. And then just turns and walks out and shuts the door. She doesn't stir. You watch for you don't know how long, but she just doesn't move. She doesn't twitch. Her eyes are open and just staring ahead. And this woman that had so much life that you have been with for the longest time. Now, well, by comparison, it feels like the longest time. Seeing her like this is... I need another willpower check from you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes.
Despite the raging agony,
Quite a lot of willpower.
pain and anger that begins rolling up inside you, hitting like a fucking punch in the gut, there's no release. Even as much as the beast is urging you to vent, you don't. And you just can't seem to move. 3 stains.
That, I believe... Oh, and you always get a minimum of 1 dice to roll, don't
Yes.
you?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's
You don't
good.
roll it yet.
No, I don't. I'm just going to remind myself.
You will also lose your touchstone.
I will. First one. Hey, it's a good thing. Apparently I have more than 1.
Yeah.
And no one else comes to the door. The manacles are not loosened, and the gargoyle is unmoving. Very much the lifeless husk that it's pretending to be, just overseeing the scene, even less, even showing even less motion, less movement than even the Regent did. Just observing, completely uncaring, just overseeing. And then the sensation of anger and the sensation of hunger is slowly dwindled, replaced by the overwhelming sensation that there is danger coming. And it begins making you go lethargic. And you begin dipping your head, even as you reach towards Will.
Still in these manacles.
Even as you reach towards Will, your hands, even if you had your full strength, couldn't break these manacles. And they couldn't even strain them beyond what they allowed for. And finally, at that time when your beast knows the sun rises, and when the powers of the blood that animate your body just recede, you just slump and end up lying prone next to Will. You guys.
Yeah, sorry for hijacking the session.
Hello.
You guys have received messages.
Yeah, urgent.
Katia.
So when do we get them?
You would have gotten them about the time that you two began making your way back towards your haven.
Okay.
You would have received it probably about the time that you messaged Jim. I believe it was Jim that you messaged, or was it Ben?
You bet.
Living the dream.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, about the time that you did that, you probably would have come across that message.
I reply that I am in no way to move from where I am. I'm physically incapacitated.
Okay.
I'll probably phone her if she says it's urgent.
When you made the call, there would have been no response.
Okay.
Whether or not she's just not answering because she's annoyed that you didn't immediately respond to her, or whether or not you just can't get through. I mean, it's hard for you to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, at this particular point, all that's really going through your mind is, why fucking message me if you're not going to answer?
Yeah.
Or something
I
similar.
did send a second message just before I went into the hospital.
Which was?
See you when
See
the
you
sun
on
comes
Sunday.
up.
See you.
No, I said see you when the sun comes up.
But keep in mind, it's pretty inebriated at this
He
point,
is.
or the equivalent of.
So I don't know if I'll appreciate the nuances of that second message at this point. Because I'll probably misread it as, like, effectively, I'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And then I'll
You're
maybe...
the worst housemate.
And then maybe later, but if she's not answered when I've called... I mean, she said go to the crossed hands, didn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, I'll call Jim.
Okay. Jim, as you are beginning to... Oh, well, you're about halfway now towards the address that was supplied to you by Benjamin when your phone starts.
Yeah.
Jim, I have a message from Katia, and it says that it's urgent that we go to the crossed hands. But when I called her, she didn't answer. So what do you think's going on there?
She went with clan business.
And then she said something about seeing us later, I think.
What was the message precisely?
You got it as well.
Yeah. But, so see you when the sun comes up. Yeah, that probably means we're in danger. Serious
Really?
danger. Yes.
Well, should we go to the crossed hands then, like quickly, or should we not go there? What's your advice?
I think best not to go there for now. Go there.
She did say urgently. That's the thing that concerns me.
Yes.
Is she in danger?
If she,
Moses is not in danger anymore. He told me that he's fine.
with this other message, clearly it's past the point where we can do anything. So best head to yours and then go there tomorrow evening because.
Sorry, what was that?
Best go to yours as per our original plan and go to the crossed hands tomorrow because.
Go tomorrow to the crossed hands.
Yeah.
All right. So I will meet you at the flat.
I'm pretty sure.
You think that it's fine because she did say urgent.
Well, with her second message, clearly we haven't been able to get there in time. So.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds. She's going to be angry with me again, Jim.
I think it's not her we might want to be worried about.
Well, I'm worried about her. The last time she broke my window with a hammer. I don't know what she'll do this time.
There are worse things than breaking a window with a fucking hammer.
Exactly my point, Jim. This was the second time that I've annoyed her, and that was the warning. This could be worse.
Yet you just oh, for God's sake! You're pissed off bloody Primogen and you're worried about Katia. Yeah.
No. The Primogen is all good now. Everything's fine. We got on very well. It's fine. I thought it was going to be terrible, and it was for a while. But actually, now I'm fine. I'm good. I'm actually. It's been such a weight on my shoulders. I can't even begin to tell you. But now I feel much better. So we're going to the flat.
Yeah, go to the flat. Oh shit! That's gonna bite me in the ass.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
No, just get it flat.
You're sure Katia's fine?
Probably not, but then again, if she's with her clan, there's nothing we can do to help her.
Really? Alright, I suppose. But I still think she's going to be very angry about this. And I feel terrible already, and I was feeling quite good.
Yeah, but
for once.
Yeah, but I'm probably gonna need your help initially when I wake up.
Right. Well, I'll come and help you at least. That's at least something I can do.
Yeah. Well, I'll meet you at doors.
See you soon.
And then as I continue making my way, because with the shiny new compulsion I've got, I start heading more down alleys. More
outside your domain.
Yeah, no, it's compulsion. He's heading more down domains, seeing who we can stalk.
Do you want to make your way there quickly, or are you going to be focusing on hunting?
The Regent thing would be there to get there properly. However, with the compulsion, he's gonna be more towards the alley, so he's gonna.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It will change the difficulty. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he'll be more likely to be hunting. Trying to be careful, but it's compulsion.
Okay.
Fucking compulsions.
All right. Yes.
I thought so.
So, I need you to. You just gonna try grabbing anyone?
Anyone who would be alone and vulnerable, really. So, alone, vulnerable in alley, and would be able to be taken, have a bit of a snack on without raising suspicion.
Okay.
Because it's
what
more.
Hunger are you on?
I'm on hunger 2.
Okay. So, in that case, we'll say. Oh, it's going to be strength plus brawl.
Well, this would include my grappling, because.
Yeah. I mean, there are people about. If you're not that picky about who you're going to eat, it's not going to be that bad. The difficulty is more to reflect doing it without obviously being overseen.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's decent.
Could always willpower it.
Yeah, I'll willpower it just in case.
You don't want to fail this roll.
No, I do not want to fail this roll.
Yeah, I think it's been impressed upon us quite a lot recently.
Now you're talking.
Critical success, right?
That's
Crit
11. You got crit
It's off the
success.
scale.
How
That's
many?
4,
It's
5, 6, 7,
It's everything's fine.
8. No, I can't count
It's
today.
an everything fine
That
roll.
is
Yeah,
a
9.
9.
Okay.
9 success.
That is my highest score.
That's the most anyone's
So-
ever had in one go.
As you are basically moving towards Benjamin's, not unlike a cat, just moving your way through the environment without anyone really seeing. You're bypassing people with more on an instinctual level than because you actually know this area of the city that well. Every time someone comes around the corner, it's almost like you stop yourself, they bypass, and then you watch them, see whether or not they're alone, see whether or not they're in public. The moment that you realise that they are, you turn and begin making your way, and at all times you're making your way straight towards Benjamin's, and then all of a sudden you stop and glance over towards a secluded parking area, just nestled between two old-style buildings, and not too far away from where the local bus stops are and similar. It's not that heavily used in an area where there's so many bus stops. And you can see one individual, quite drunk, wrestling with his keys, trying to get into the car. It's not Benjamin.
Just asking.
No, not with 9 successes. I'm not going to be that high.
You just diabolize someone right then and there.
Yeah,
Get yourself
Please tell me no
another
trouble,
discipline.
As he's wrestling with his keys, trying to get them into this lock, he's letting out the occasional curse, he's letting out the occasional belch. He is completely oblivious to you being there. And as you see him, you immediately glance down the one street, or glance down the other. There is no one around. There is absolutely no one. And not only that, where between the two cars where he stood, in order for someone to see that, they'd have to actually come straight in and turn the corner to see it. For being out in the open, it is pretty much the ideal opportunity. And without waiting, you move straight towards him, grab hold of him, just wrench his head back, and as he's like, what? It just... And he just begins leaning into you as you just start draining him. How much are you taking?
What I'm going to do is as I'm draining the first one, I'm going to make a rouse check to heal a point of superficial damage.
Okay.
Multitasking.
Yeah, you can
Oh, yeah.
totally do that.
Which is a pass.
Okay.
So I heal at 1 point, and then I've got one other point of superficial damage left. So as I continue doing that, I'll do for the other one, which is a fail. So I'll end up taking 2 points of blood off him, which carefully, so bring me down to hunger 1.
You lost a point though, didn't you, from a rouse
Yeah,
check?
yeah. So I lost points, which would put me up to a total of 3.
Yeah.
So taking 2 off, bring me down to 1.
Okay. So you would have healed the superficial.
Yeah.
And as you are draining him, even though he stinks to high heaven of booze, and even
You're
though
drunk as well.
Both of you drunk in the same house now. House party.
even though he stinks to high heaven of booze, and you can see your expression reflected in the mirror directly in front of you, there is no sounds approaching. You are keenly aware of your environment even as you are draining him. And you will get... Which one was it? You will get the phlegmatic. It's not intense, it's just...
Like numb.
Yeah,
Slightly numb.
And he goes down very, very easily, just falling into you. There's no resistance in how he does it. And you manage to take enough blood and feel the injuries begin to fix themselves throughout. And it's a strange sensation between extreme pleasure and the pain of your injuries righting themselves and your body forcing itself back into the positions that it should be. Until finally you lick the wound closed and just lay him down upon the cold ground. And he seems... pretty. Given that you just took some blood from him, he seems pretty content that he's found his way onto a surface to lie on.
Done like a 10.
Well, you're going to continue your way towards Benjamin?
Yeah, I'm going to continue my way towards Benjamin's. Thankfully, the post is now done because all I got to do is get one over there.
That's the way he's walking now.
I didn't say he was drunk.
I mean, he got a very good success. Maybe he just like...
Nah, he's not drunk. Not with 9 successes.
Yeah.
That'd be harsh, man.
Yeah.
He's got high tolerance.
Yeah,
I mean-
he's been drunk of blood
I
recently.
mean, your stamina
I'll
is
tell you
insane.
what, based upon where you were, because you would still be drunk, but by the time you'll manage to get to his, you're not going to take the mechanical effects. You might still feel a bit...
Hey!
Hey! The gang's still here! Apart from Katia and Moses. Hi, Benjamin! You still feel pretty... you feel pretty good. In that slight buzzed way you do when you have alcohol. And it's not a sensation you recall having not since the last drink that you drank.
Yeah, which was, a couple of nights ago?
Yeah, for a couple of nights. But by the time you manage to get to this, the building that Benjamin's directed you to, it's pretty... The buzz is subsided. You were heading straight there as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so you two will roughly arrive. He'll arrive first and he'll be waiting around for a bit, but then you'll arrive not too long after.
I'll say, Jim, hello.
Alright.
It's this way.
Right, this way.
All right. Now let's not be too loud because I don't want to upset the neighbours.
You're like Mr. Bean if he could talk.
So I'll show Jim up to the flat.
Okay. No one's awake at this point. This is a pretty decent building. Found for you by Edmund Sinclair.
It's a nice. it's a very Spartan flat because most of the stuff's been moved across, but it is a very nice flat, nonetheless. So, I assume we haven't got very long till sunrise.
No.
So
You've all started to feel that kind of.
Yeah.
It's almost like a low buzz at the base of your skull. You're aware. You're probably slightly less aware of it at this point, but inevitably you're going to become aware of the sensation.
I'll say, is this room suitable, Jim?
I'll check to make sure it is actually a suitable room, blacked out and everything, just in case.
I mean, it's a pretty decent setup. I mean, it's probably more, even as Spartan as it is, it's probably more artsy than anything you're used to. It's certainly more nicer than anything you've been in. Certainly nicer than anything Alicia's let you sleep in.
Hey, he was at my place.
I maintain my,
Boom.
It's a nice thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh god, I'm getting other notes today.
Yeah.
This is another I hate you note, isn't it?
What are you going to do to my flat while I'm not
Sorry,
looking?
Yeah.
the only one
So
who should
this
be
is-
sending those notes is me.
Yeah, it's a.
Wow.
This is a nice, very nice place. Yeah, but
Good. I'm glad
I'm
that
not-
you like it. It's good. I'm going to go to bed now because I think that's what we should do now because the sun is coming.
Sun's coming up.
And I will talk tomorrow night. Yes?
Yeah.
Good.
So when we wake up, remind you that
The
I'm
latter.
I'm probably going to be hungry in the morning. Hungry when we wake.
What does that mean, really? Should I not come and see you? Should I hide somewhere?
Well,
Or should I...
it would probably be a good idea for you to aid me in feeding soon. I might be okay, but I might be quite hungry.
All right. If you are okay, when you wake, can you knock twice loudly on the door? And I'll come and help you. And if you are not okay and you are dangerous, then if you could knock maybe 5 or 6 times. And if I hear no knocking, I'm going to assume dangerous. All right? All right. Good night.
Get your head down. You're pissed.
I am not.
You're drunk.
No, I have not had any. I don't drink anymore. I'm a vampire.
You've drunk an alcoholic's blood. You are drunk.
Oh, is that what's happened?
That's what has happened.
Oh.
That is how we can get drunk.
You know, Jim, that makes a lot of sense now that you say it.
Yeah,
Good. Thank you. And good night.
Good night.
I'm going to go to bed.
Okay.
See, that could have been me in the hospital rescuing Will, but...
Yeah, I'm actually kind of pleased I just did that myself.
Well done.
For all the good it did me, I should have just killed her there.
Regrets?
Oh, yeah.
No time for regrets. Someone is looking out for me.
Well, say that after your next rouse check. At Hunger 5.
Well, at this point, I don't care. She's not my toucher anymore. I don't care. Katia does.
You go into torpor.
Oh yeah.
That's
well
not-
then,
it's
if
not
I
that you're going
pass,
to
and then
frenzy.
I have to frenzy as well.
Exactly. If you pass, you'll
One
have
of
to
two.
take frenzy.
Oh well, I'll just finally have a good night's sleep. Might be quite peaceful.
Should we go back to the ST?
Sorry.
How to make people really not care about their touch sticks.
Turn him into a fucking vampire.
Yeah.
Oh no, the plot lines you've opened up for me now, mate.
Oh shit.
So, I need rouse checks from everybody.
Okay, come on, rouse dice.
So we go.
Why? Someone
I
Hunger
haven't
2.
passed any rouses
Still at
today.
Hunger 3.
I just don't pass rouses very often.
I didn't pass.
So,
I'm good. Sleeps.
yeah, so I was going to heal anyway.
Yeah.
I was sent to heal a point of aggravated damage
That's what
anyway,
you get
so
for
I failed the
having
wake up
hella
check.
good willpower.
I don't even bother.
One success. That's a failure. That's a failure.
So that's 2 failures.
2 failures, including the failure for the wake up, so that's 3 failures, so
Hunger
I'm
4.
on Hunger 4.
That's not too bad though.
No,
I
not
am
too
still
bad.
at Hunger 3.
I'm
Thank
our
you,
first torpor.
Oh shit.
I don't bother with.
Man.
It's
I don't
alright. It's
use
going to
that
be
book.
strangely peaceful. It's gonna
What,
be
you want the
great.
book?
Yeah, I'll pass it over. Katia's cool with this. She's feeling quite nihilistic.
Of course she's cool.
Especially
She's
because of the-
unconscious.
Wow, this is so nice. This is actually quite in keeping with her conviction that she lost as well.
Poor Katia.
Am I just going to start playing Will now if Will diablerizes Katia?
That's right.
I don't know if you'll want that, really.
I mean, Will would then have Katia's soul. It depends whose soul wins, right?
Well, it depends, yeah.
Okay.
But he.
Tremere, guys. It's hard mode.
Okay. What's your blood potency?
My blood potency is the same as most neonates. It's 1.
Okay. Do you need a spot?
No, you hold on to it for now.
Okay. The first thing you are aware of is a wetness on your lip, and then another, and your body begins twisting towards it. You're unaware of where it's twisting, you're unaware of how it's twisting. You're unaware of the fact that you are still very much manacled. But you are aware of that wetness and the taste that comes with it, and your body begins thrashing of its own accord. To the extreme where, if you were mortal, you probably would have broken most of the bones in your arms and legs in the effort to get closer to whatever the hell this was. But it takes you a long time to realize that what is rousing you into movement is blood. Even the recognition of what that ecstatic taste is lost to you for a while, as your mind is just blank. And then finally, as your senses begin recovering, it's rapidly replaced by the sensation of hunger. And the blissfulness that you had of the momentary torpor you experienced was almost paradise by comparison to this raw hunger budding through you. And as you wake and you turn and look around, you realize that the kindred that is stood next to you is Sabine. And as you begin making yourself aware of your surroundings, recalling where you are, you note that as Sabine is straightening up and just wiping her wrist, you glance over toward your left immediately and you realize that there is an absence of a will. There is no one there. There is blood smeared upon the ground that you can recognize by smell as hers, but she's not there herself. And then as you glance towards Sabine, again your movement's very jerking, very animalistic, very not your own. You're still gripped by that sensation of a small part of you realizing that something's important that's missing, that should be there next to you, that you can recognize by smell and by taste, but you don't know what it is. There's an image that's lurching at the back of your mind trying to remind you what it belongs to, but you can't recognize it. And then there's the smell and the taste of the other blood, the blood that you have now still dribbling down your lip as your tongue darts out and begins tasting at it, and you look towards Sabine as she then immediately hands you a vial, which your hands just snatch up, and the pressure of it makes it break between your hands, but you just begin licking over it, just the glass just cutting into your tongue, but at this point you don't care, you're just draining it. And it's only as she starts handing you another vial and another vial that you begin to feel the tightness and the hunger and the confusion begin to leave. And then you feel the pain racking your body from the tightness of the restraints, from the way that you've dislocated one of your shoulders in the effort to get to whatever this was. And as you begin to still, Sabine just puts aside the vials, kneels down next to you, and just with a surprising amount of force just puts your arm back in place. And then slowly you become aware, finally, of everything around you. And she rocks back onto her feet, stands up, and then moves over towards the manacles and just starts undoing them.
Sabine, I did my duty.
You did, darling.
I did everything they asked.
You did.
I took the blame that was mine.
That, I suppose, is why they did it. Come, darling, let's leave this place and we'll talk somewhere more And she reaches down and helps you to your feet. And she's very strong, but I mean, she doesn't look it, but she is strong. She helps you back to your feet, and then guides you with a hand at the small of your back towards the door. And you're not fully stable enough in yourself. You've not overcome the full extent of the hunger enough to recognize that the gargoyle that was there is no longer there. It's elsewhere. But you can certainly hear them moving about in the room, even though they are unseen, just echoing footfalls up on the layers above. She begins guiding you through the room onto the one of the rooms on the other side, and it's a long rectangular stretch, and the only things in this small, almost like a cupboard, but it's a comfortable cupboard, is two long, thin, quite old-looking sofas or chairs that you'd have adorning a corridor, facing each other, about half a meter apart from each other. And then at the very far end, there's a small table with just a bowl on it, and then above that there's a mirror. And then she guides you over towards one of these chairs and just sits you down, and then sits down opposite. I suppose they would have done whatever they did to make a point, but your sire has made it a point to the Regent that your loyalty was divided. And whilst, darling, I know that's not the case, I know that you hold clan above anything else. You were willing to take a punishment for a ghoul. Now, I know you were fond of her, darling, but the Regent wouldn't have seen that.
That wasn't it. I, as instructed, have spent time. I have invested time in the company of the other clans. You know what they call us. They know we are all cowards to them. Cowards, usurpers, traitors. Can we not be the change we wish to see?
You and I are of the same mind. But the Regent is far older. She is like most of our elders, hesitant to embrace change. They are comfortable in the power that is offered by the status quo. And whilst that mindset cannot see us to survive, cannot see us into the ascent of power and position that we need and that we deserve, they will always be hesitant to change until that change is either forced upon them or made so tempting by their benefits that they want nothing else. And then they'll seize upon it like it was their own idea. This is the way that it has always been, darling.
It is why we slip ever closer now to destruction. No?
My thoughts precisely, but you and I are both of the same mind where we are unwilling to allow that to happen to the clan. Unfortunately, if your sire gets his way, that may very well be the direction that we take.
When I first spoke to Oliver, he said as you did. He was looking for a change. He spoke of the other clan members as you do now. What changed?
I believe, and this is difficult for me to admit, I do believe that at his heart, that cold, withered thing in his chest, he does firmly want the same things that we want, but not at the expense of his own standing or his own position of authority or the perception of his power. And he is a kindred who bears a grudge poorly, and he bears it for a long time. Now when he initially saw you as the ideal candidate, and based upon his own flawed perceptions, claimed that you disappointed him at multiple avenues before the embrace was forced upon you quicker than we wanted. Now, I know I do not agree with his perceptions. I do not agree with the treatment that he has done. It is counterproductive. And it does not benefit the clan that he satisfies his sordid need for self-gratification. You told the prince that you had been around long enough to warrant a quite literal scolding. And he has not forgotten. Compiled with all the other invisible errors that he chooses to see for himself, he is unwilling to have any sort of risk to his ascension to power, and
Surely the risk to his ascension would have been made far greater if his own child lied to the Prince of London.
well, that would be the common sense method. But perhaps had you lied, he would not have been burnt. Now, I'm not saying that what you did was wrong. I mean, God forbid I wouldn't lie to Emerus. I certainly wouldn't have lied in front of that woman. But he does not like losing. He does not like being perceived as someone that's imperfect, I suppose.
In that case, he will be made more dangerous by the fact that he already lost one small battle last night. He did not succeed in having me murder her myself.
Yes, and I am immensely proud that you had that small victory at least. But the deed is done, and
Yes.
I believe it's... I mean, I was unaware that he was able to embrace anyone without Prince Emerus's permission, but clearly the Regent wouldn't have allowed it if there wasn't something that enabled them to do it.
Has he taken a child before?
Before you?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of, darling. If he has, that child is not in London.
I feel like whatever child he takes is doomed to failure, for he does not want a child, he wants a pet.
Well, if he becomes Primogen,
Guess that'll make us all his pets.
I'm unwilling to allow that to happen.
As you can understand, am I?
She studies you for a moment, but it's a brief study. You're not sure whether or not it's to check whether or not you're of the right mind, or whether or not she's checking to see if you actually believe what you're saying. But the check's there, either way, and she doesn't hide the fact that she's observing you. But then she reaches out and she just places a hand on your own, and it's cool to the touch, and it's both comforting and unsettling. Not only because, like anyone that's just suffered a very recent loss, comfort with another person is something you want and do not want at the same moment, but it's also because the beast inside you recoils at any close proximity to a rival beast, especially one that is stronger by its very nature. And she is very close to you. There's a half a meter between the two of you, and for all her friendly airs, she is still very much kindred. But she places a hand on yours, holds it there for a moment, and then she releases. Now, I am aware that you were fond of Will.
She had potential.
It's more than that, darling. I'm not your sire, I'm not the regent, don't pretend with me. It was more than that. You cared for her, in whatever capacity and for whatever reason. I mean, perhaps I'm jaded by age, but I'm not jaded enough that I don't recognize that. I think everybody did. I think that's why she was made the lesson.
I regretted what I did to her
Well,
originally. I tried to make up for it.
you did, and that's commendable, but for whatever reasons, we're where we are now, and we have to deal with the fallout. And as it stands, whatever affection you had for the woman, you have to let go. She is not going to be the woman that you ghouled, that you took under your wing, and that was loyal to you. She, as you said, will be Oliver's pet now. As balking an idea as that is. But if you really wish to war against your sire, you cannot do it from a position of weakness. And if he becomes Primogen, he will. I will do what I can, but my open and very vocal support for you, the Regent has taken notice of you and I, and at the end of the day, it's the Regent's choice about who will ascend to the position of Primogen. And I'm not going to lie to you, darling, at the moment, I don't know which way the wind blows. I don't know whether or not Oliver has managed to wrangle some manipulation.
How can she not see his selfish instability, his
She
lack of
probably
common
does see it,
sense?
darling.
It's a time bomb.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Of course, I fully understand if you wish to, at the very least, outwardly disassociate from me.
No, don't be silly, darling. If I did that, I'd look...
And tell me what to do. Tell me, I mean, it's clear.
The important thing now, darling, is not to rush into anything. The seat on the Primogen is going to remain vacant until the Regent makes a decision. Emrys is in no rush to hand power to our clan. Not until he can put steps in place to ensure our compliance. And believe you me, those steps will be well thought out, and they will be thorough. We have time. The important thing now is that our association remain public.
Of course.
And, more to the point, that you find your feet, you find your stability, you begin doing what you came to this city for, and I know your inability to do so far has not been your fault, but these setbacks are only setbacks if we allow them to remain so.
Certainly.
We must pick ourselves back up, we must move on, darling, and we must begin working to prove that we are the productive members of the clan, and that his own self-interest, for whatever benefits that might owe to the Regent, they're not going to further our clan. And that is what's important. And for all of her age, I'm sure she agrees. In fact, I know she agrees.
Of course. In that case, I will do anything that assists to this end. It's clear now that Oliver's interests have switched, so as far as I'm concerned, I am at your disposal.
Well, that's a pretty open offer, darling. And to be honest, I would caution you against making such emotional pledges of loyalty, particularly after you've just imbued some of my blood. I mean, God forbid anybody rises above the pyramid in terms of importance, right? I think that's the lesson we've learned here today. But
of course, but what Oliver's doing, his actions serve only to crumble it further. He's not progressing anything apart from his own vanity.
Don't be too quick to underestimate your sire, darling. You are seeing one side of him, and that is his spiteful side. He is capable in his own way, and that is why he is dangerous. If he was merely vainglorious, then I would not be as concerned as I am.
I know.
The Primogen is a dangerous position for any kindred to take, and the Regent is not blind to that. She is not blind to how powerful a position it is for all concerned. She's not going to hand that over to someone that is incapable.
No, you're right. I just haven't seen a lot of the other side of him. At least not.
Why would he show that?
Not for a while. And I don't even know when it first started going that way.
Wondering about such things can only lead to more regret.
Of
We need to be
course.
looking onwards.
Yes.
As far as this matter relating to Will is concerned, in terms of the breach, the clan is ensuring that those that were witness to it are made to forget. The Nosferatu have done their bits to remove all evidence from the World Wide Web, and that's not to say that there is no risk. There is always risk. And that's not to say that you should forget it either. But for now, the immediate risk of exposure is past. And you should return, recover from your wounds, both physical and otherwise. Pick yourself up so that when the opportunity comes for us to do more, you are in a better position to do so, darling. You're no good to me like this, and whilst I understand, it's not an excuse I'm willing to accept.
No, I have plenty of work to find solace in. Everything is as I left it. In that regard, nothing has changed.
No. Now, I recommend you return to your domain. I'm not sure where she is, but I can imagine Oliver is quite eager for you to meet. So spare yourself that, darling. Go home.
Indeed, I will.
She pats you again on the leg, and then just rises, and then just leaves.
And then after a minute or two, I will follow suit.
Okay.
What hunger am I on now, by the way?
Hunger. You are on hunger 3.
Okay. And I will make the slow trip back towards the crossed hands, I suppose.
Okay. Moses. When you wake,
Do I wake up before Alice?
no. Alice is awake, and she has been active. Your flat, as messy as it is, has been not made worse, but things have moved. Probably because she's been occupying the time in which you had to wake up to do something. It's clear that she's unwilling to leave. But she is, when you wake and you become aware of your surroundings, you can hear the footfalls in the next room. And as you kind of glance around, she's there just thumbing through things you've got. She's not going like online or any of your things that might be, you know, a red flag as confidential, but she's just moving things. She's clearly trying to occupy her time.
Well, I have nothing there. I already moved everything either to the cross hands or my other haven.
So, did you try and heal? No. Okay. She just nods at you for a moment, seems to go back to what she's doing, and then puts down this one of the little figurines you likely have dotted around the place, and just flicks it so that it just kind of wobbles, and then just moves back over, and then just sits down.
Probably the Hawaiian lady. Like.
Yeah, and just sits down next to you. She doesn't sit right next to you. Since last night, she's not been as close. As the moment that her immediate concern about your safety kind of was alleviated and replaced with having to feed you, she glances at your jaw, a little bit rougher now, not enough to like make it hurt, but she kind of twists your head just to kind of get a full extent of it. Sees the part where the bone has been shattered and it's just flesh and bone just hanging off.
And the skin, yeah.
So Are you gonna be alright?
Turn the TV on, grab the keyboard.
Fuck's sake.
This is uncomfortable.
So is this discussion.
Not a discussion.
Fuck's sake.
I'm gonna be alright. I'm not as bad as I thought I would be, thanks to you.
Well, don't make a fucking habit of it because you can quote me on the fact that I'm not going to be doing this every fucking time you get a kick in your ass.
I don't intend to be shoveled in the face again.
And no one does, Moses. Happens a lot in this city. Maybe not a shovel, but you know, Nosferatu are weird. A little bit of offense intended.
Ha ha ha.
You know.
I tried sarcasm, didn't work. Okay. I just asked her. Do you have anywhere you need to be?
Yeah, plenty of places. One of which is here. Do not get a big head about that. Because I'm still fucking angry at you.
What'd I do? I pull the chick to the side and I smirk. Like innocent, like.
She's kind of caught between a grin, but it's one that's like...
An annoyed one, yeah.
You're like, if I hit him, will it really come off?
Most likely,
And she probably comes to the conclusion, yes, it would, because she doesn't actually, like...
She's not gonna hold back.
Instead, she gets up and starts pacing again. She's not gone far enough that she can't see the screen when you're typing, but it's just clear that she kind of like...
I meant, do you need a ride? I need to return Will's cars to Katia.
Yeah.
It's my car now.
No.
In my head, Katia, Will's still in the hospital, so you're the one
You got
getting
a free
her
car now. I can't drive.
Well,
You totally
given
lost
that
one.
I lost one, I have a new one.
Yeah.
No, it's like I'm asking her if she needs to go somewhere because I can ride. I can drive her wherever because I intend to go hunting. Parenthesis, not looking for people. I'm gonna go to the dog pound or something.
No, you're alright. I'll sort myself out. Thanks.
I'll drive you wherever and then I'll hunt.
No, I've got shit to do, Moses. You go and fucking sort yourself out.
Yeah, I need blood, lots of it.
Yeah, clearly. Just do what you need to do. You're fine now. I don't feel like I need to be here, so just don't fuck off the Primogen again, okay? I mean, they're dicks, but just fuck. You've been here how many weeks? Properly. Do you know how long, like, it normally takes to get a smack from him? Yeah, more or less. Just. Is there anything you need from me before I go? Because I'm fucking hungry, thanks to you.
Thanks. Like I hold my jaw and I try to mutter thanks.
She gets up. She looks like she's on the verge of like patting you on the shoulder or something. She goes past and she resists and just moves towards the door. Opens it and then steps through it. She doesn't slam it, but she closes it. Just with considerable restraint. Then you are left alone.
Okay. I am at hunger 3. I am going to sit down. And hungry as I am, I'm gonna go and feed off of, like, I think I'm gonna spend the night either hunting for cats, dogs, and rats or whatever. I don't want to risk it in this state, trying to hunt in someone's house, especially this early into the night, into the evening. It's just starting, so my best bet is look for the place where I can just go and...
Okay.
And no, I don't care if it's my domain or not.
Okay. All right. Now that's the key part. So
I'm literally making it as broad as possible because I am going to be hiding and I'm going to be doing it covertly, but it's going to be animals, and even if it takes me outside of the city, I'm willing to drive an hour or two.
Okay. Well, in the interest of expedience, because I do want to get you guys together, who is going to be feeding before this starts? Who is going to be doing so in their domain?
Oh man, what wrong
Both
with
of
you
you
guys?
form pools that work with your approach. Tell me your approach.
I would also probably feed.
Okay.
Just kind of checking.
Same thing then. Are you doing it in your domain?
Yes.
Okay, that will make it easy.
I'm not making any. No
Okay.
more like messing
Keep in
up
mind
by.
the manner of your approach, and keeping in mind there is a reinforced police presence at the moment in the south and southeast.
That's why I'm going out of town.
Okay.
No, well, not exactly out of town. I'm just going to a less populated area, more parks, actually. Not Hyde Park, other parks.
Fuck's sake.
Like, I'm going to other parks, slightly on the edges of the city, not in the center of the city. You know, it's like less populated areas, wildernessy, looking for animals. And I'm gonna probably be using either manipulation or an animal can, or something like charisma and animalism itself.
Okay.
But it's gonna be animal related. That's gonna be my pool.
Alright. And
I'm finding a seedy bar in our domain and using charisma persuasion, which is her usual
okay, your
method.
difficulty will be slightly low because you're in your domain. Well, no, it will level out. I mean, it's in your domain. You don't have to, kind of worry as much.
It's the usual cajole someone out to their car, the whole thing she hates.
Yeah. Okay. And Jim.
Jim's going to be on foot, walking in direction from Ben's to domain, and he's going to alley cat it. So go down the alley as soon as we can find some poor person. Probably guiding Ben along with
I was going to say, do you communicate with me, or do you just leave the flat?
I probably communicate with you.
Do you knock on your door at any point?
Yeah, you're no longer drunk at this point.
Oh, good. That's good. Hello. Good morning. Good evening. Good nice. Hello.
We probably need to get moving. I didn't see your car out, and I need a feed on the way. So we'd better. So
yes, and I haven't heard. The last I heard from Moses is that everything's great, but I haven't heard from Katia. I'm going to try her again, and I think we should go to the Crossed Hands because she said it was urgent, so we could maybe find out what happened there.
Yeah. So
but I don't really want to go on my own because of the
come with me. I'll feed on the way.
business.
Okay.
I'll feed on the
Right.
way.
If you're driving.
His car is, I think, still at
My
the
car isn't at my flat.
So how are you getting there? You're just going by public transport.
I'll be going on foot probably the entire way.
I'll get a cab. Hang on,
Just
you
right
want me to
past
come in?
like they seem
I'll say
holy.
we can get a cab.
I need a feed on the way, and it's best if we be on foot for that.
You want me there when you feed?
Well, and you could be useful. As I said, I might need a bit of help.
Right. All right.
Yeah,
So
no,
you want me to
no.
keep an eye out or something, and make sure that you're not
Basically,
observed. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I
You
can
need
do
to
that.
look if the coast is clear,
All right.
basically.
All
That's probably the helping.
right. I'll do that for you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll assist his hunt.
Okay.
I'm not trying to feed myself. If he looks like he's starting to hunt and we're not back in our domain, I'll be like, I don't think we can do this here, Jim, because there are very strict rules, and we had to. I remember being told about them. Edmund was very specific.
Yeah, you're nowhere near your domain.
I think that's the motto for like the last for the game so far. I don't think we can do this here, Jim.
Don't do something with. Have you seen the amount of cops in our domain?
Well,
Have you seen the amount of cops? Do you really want this happening?
it's interesting because I've got a very good imagination, and if I close my eyes, I can just about imagine some police, but I don't have to close my eyes at all to imagine the prince staring at me, and I don't want to be in that position again. And
That's why you're keeping a lookout, making sure we're
No, you'll make look. It's bad enough. I'll look around, make sure no one's listening.
There's a few people that are like kind of glancing over at the two people that are like, no.
All right, so I'll walk on a little bit and lower my voice and say, "There's one thing to be a regular criminal, and it's another thing to be a criminal to the prince, and I don't want to be both."
I'm aware of that, however.
So I'll keep an eye out for you. I'll keep an eye out for. Let's go back. Let's not break every rule. we've only just about got out of the last set of messes we got into. Let's not make a new one. Katia's already angry with us. Just think what she'll be like if we get this even worse. You see, you know I'm right. You know it, Jim. In your heart. You know it. Let's go.
Dead.
All right. Well, let's just, for the sake of argument, go anyway. Shall we? Oh. See if he's.
I'll get a couple of answers from you later, but fine.
Oh,
I've got a couple of questions.
And
for you
I'll
later.
help you. I'll help you. It'll all be fine. It'll be much better. Right. So we're feeding in the domain.
You'll get one additional die for teamwork, I believe.
I think that's how it works. But yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty good lookout as it goes.
Do I get to use my negotiation?
You're one of the
Does my
best.
negotiation come to this? Nice. Are we all rolling?
I'm just trying to make this less complicated.
Yeah. Are we all rolling in tandem, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone gets any
Second.
botches or anything, well, not botches, bestial fails or anything like that, that's when we're going to suddenly.
Oh, that one wasn't in there.
Come on, people.
You have set different difficulties, so
I have-
do it one down the line.
I'm going to spin willpower for the heck
Me
of
too.
it.
Okay.
Just in case. 2.
Yeah.
Make sure you're marking these off.
I got 4.
I got 5.
5's good.
Oh, fuck.
No, Moses, no! No!
Did you spend a willpower
No
point?
ones. No ones.
Did you spend a willpower point?
Why? How? Like these are the
They're all
hunger
hunger
dice.
dice.
Oh, are they? Oh.
These are the. This is the only one that's not a hunger
You
die.
could go up to 2 successes.
I could.
Do you want to succeed at a cost?
I could.
For all our sakes, say yes.
Given that you are quite hungry,
Yes, I'm on
it's
hunger
going to
3.
be quite a steep cost because you are out of your domain.
I'm gonna call Deacon.
Because I've been quite.
I'm done.
Obviously, in book 1, while everyone's learning the ropes and stuff, I've been quite lenient. But as of the end of
Yeah, but the domain which
You
is
wanna
safe
trade me
is
in
no
the
longer
axe?
even
I'm
safe
there.
to hunt or live.
yeah, but
so.
it's legal for you.
Oh yeah.
That is the big thing. Do you want to succeed at a cost?
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
Okay. You will be caught poaching. Is the cost?
Fail. We go hungry.
I think I'm gonna go hungry.
Okay. You are, as you are doing
at
your.
this time, I at this moment,
Yeah.
if I am caught poaching, I
get
don't
beat up
even
even
have the
worse.
ability to negotiate a thing. It's like, okay, you know what? Like, I know this is your domain, but can I fit here for a bone?
As you are kind of wandering around making a quick surveillance, trying to find some animals, you move down towards the end of an alleyway just as you see an animal beginning darting through, and as you scuttle in, you glance up towards a figure that is standing at the exact opposite end of the alleyway. Looks to be someone in their teens with a hood pulled up. You can't quite make out their features, but they're watching you. And then as you kind of right yourself up, their head kind of cants, and then they start taking a step towards you, and then another step, and then another step, and it starts quickening its pace, and then immediately you kind of recognise that there is no heartbeat coming from this individual, and you
Nope,
turn
nope,
and you leave.
Yeah, yes, it start running.
Okay.
And I get in Will's car and try to drive to the haven, and I think it's gonna be rat hunting in the tunnels for me.
Yep.
Okay. How much are you two taking?
I'm gonna take 2.
I'll take 2. I have the ability to make it last a scene. But then I have the luxury.
I'm assumedly not. I thought I was just supporting his hunt.
Unless you want to feed on the same person.
How
No,
romantic.
no. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. It's early in Jim and mine's relationship. I'm not feeding on the same person.
Yeah, I'm planning on just taking 2.
No, I'll just be keeping an eye out.
Entrails me to the
I'm
middle.
focused on not creating any more trouble.
You guys managed to find people to sup on. I mean, Moses is the only one that doesn't have that luxury. And it's mainly through teamwork for you two, and mainly because at this point you are jaded enough not to second guess yourself as you're going through this process like you normally do. You managed to find people to feed on, and you managed to cut through the preamble and just get to it, seal them up, and leave them in a suitable enough place where you're not risking anything. And then you begin taking your leave and making your way together, independently back towards the crossed hands. Moses, I'll allow you one more roll.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
But I'm just gonna just go through the sewers looking for
Yeah, it'll
whatever.
be Dex plus Animal Ken.
It's gonna be worse. Okay.
100.
Look at me visibly fail.
Oh, I've already had mine tonight.
No.
Actually, 3 successes.
Okay. You do manage to find the numerous rats which have been herded further up and closer to the crossed hands, largely in part due to Jim's efforts to locate rats.
He's like, I'm gonna put a lot of traps, and then all the rats were like, yeah, let's avoid that end of the tunnel. Let's go to this one. And I go, oh my god,
The
bonanza!
success is that you've managed to
You're welcome.
so you managed to find suitable enough rats that you start chowing down. You're going for a fair few of them, and you can recover one.
That's actually enough.
Yeah. And you can hear the footfalls coming from above on the creaky floorboards as everyone begins arriving one at a time.
Well, that
Until finally, you're all back in the same place. Keep in mind, by the way, guys, when we get to the end of the little bits and pieces I might have overlooked, like potions and other bits. But for now, you are all back in the crossed hands. Katia, you would have arrived first, followed by...
I tried to hit my other superficial
Okay.
to avoid, because I don't want to
All right.
it transfer. Yes.
Okay. So now you are all back in the crossed hands. Katia would have gotten there first. You two arrived after. Moses has been there for a while, but he's been
I only have
summoning rats.
aggravated.
Yeah, when I hit that point of aggravated damage, is it a choice where I get healed the arm or half of the neck wound?
I'll say it's your choice. Your arm was...
The arm was half healed, but it was the earlier one.
Okay, it's your choice. Wow, you healed 1 point. The bite was worth 2,
Was
so
worth
you
2.
wouldn't have filled it all.
So
Both of them are still going to be there in some capacity.
yeah,
Both of them dealt more than one aggravated point of damage.
yeah. So I'll finish healing the arm.
Okay. In which case, then it does heal.
That's the other.
It's very raw flesh. It's kind of like the state of flesh when it starts recovering, and it's like really raw and pink and slightly uneven. But it's not like that. It's more pale. It's more like wet paper in a sense.
That's why I've removed the bandages from it. Going,
Yeah.
that's better.
And you come in. Where are you all now, guys? You're all back at the cross hands for the first time in a while.
When I got back, I would have headed straight down to the basement to collect my books. And then I would have essentially started transferring them back up to my room.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we're in.
You might come in whilst I'm kind of doing up
Yeah.
and down.
Do we see you then when you're coming in?
I would make an attempt to hide myself.
Oh, Katia,
Good evening. Good to see you back.
I called after your message, but I couldn't get through. What's going on?
Nothing. It's finished now. It's all done.
So
Oh.
I've got a lot of work to get on with.
Oh, right. But,
one thing I'll need to make sure you, Katia, the mysterious guest that we have here has made quite a bit of noise recently.
oh yes, they've been very vocal, and
Yeah.
also I think there's someone else here as well. I mean,
2 spectres or
well,
some other person?
Jim thinks it might be the ghost, but I don't know. I don't think it is. I think the ghost is active, like he says, but I also think, I mentioned there was someone who's been watching me. I think they've been here because, of course, we weren't here. I think they came and they were watching me from the upstairs window.
If I see anyone, I'll let you know.
I'm just saying you should be on your guard. That's all, because I don't know what they'll do.
As well as the ghost appeared to be interested in your room.
My room is probably more interesting than your rooms, I suppose, to a ghost anyway.
Oh, well, I don't exactly
know.
have a room anymore.
Well,
If it
that,
was
and I don't know
destroyed.
how much ghosts appreciate artwork.
Well, it was quite interesting and also worrying that the ghost has been in my room and has sort of thrown everything around, except there were some things that I was trying to... I feel a bit silly saying this, but I was trying to communicate with it, and the things that I was using to try and communicate are completely untouched. But everything else has been strewn around, which either means it appreciated the effort, or it was being rather rude, actually, and saying, well, making a point.
And it might have thought it was quite funny.
Yes.
I'm gonna go. Talking of supplies and stuff, you don't happen to have anything like glue, do you?
Like,
Got a super glue.
I absolutely
I-
would have super glue. Yeah.
I might have something along those lines as well.
I could do.
What
super
kind
glue.
do you need? I've got. I've got hot milk glue. I've got cyanoacrylate.
Just something that'll stick two surfaces together.
What materials are we talking about here? Metal to
Hey!
The bites
Oh.
that he's shown you, there is no way in hell you're healing that with super glue.
I mean, I can stick.
Just try and stick it together
I
so
can
it looks a
squish
little
it.
less obvious.
I can squish it down, but it's not gonna look pretty.
Don't you think maybe a bandage might be more appropriate?
Yes, I
hide
suggest
it.
that.
Until you can deal with it.
Yeah, that'll be another night in.
Although interestingly, cyanoacrylate was developed for military use to glue wounds together.
Oh, that is quite interesting.
Yes.
Do-
But no, I agree. Bandages seem a bit more prudent at this time because it's not going to stick together. Because it's not going to dry and it's not going to scab.
Now, the last when Jim was and I was speaking about Moses, it sounded as if he was in a very, very bad way. But Moses has texted me to say that he's living the dream, which doesn't really tally. Now that I think about it, because when I got the text, I was quite relieved. But now that I really think about it, well, you described that he was. What were the words you used? In frenzy, did you say? I can't remember.
Well, he's
something about being hungry and in pain and running
he
around.
was
And crashing a car or something?
Terrified he crashed his car. Last time I saw him, his jaw was fucking shattered. Apparently, his primogen had done the honours to that.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
the image of him biting into Chris Young's arm
There's
is
an
all over
image
the
of
web.
him biting.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
no, that's awful.
However, the Nosferatu succeeded in getting said image off of the internet before
well-
presumably it had spread
Well,
too
that's
far.
good.
That would explain the broken jaw.
Yes.
But if he's got a broken jaw, how can he feed? How can he restore himself if he can't feed?
Oh, he
With
can
a
feed.
lot of difficulty.
Hello. Oh goodness.
Jim does start laughing.
Is there anything that we can do to help?
There's nothing I can do to help, and I carry on taking my books upstairs.
I follow her, leaving those two.
No.
I'll be down later if there's anything that needs discussing.
All right. Are you sure? I don't know much about all of this, but it does look like you could use some help of some kind. But the offer's there anyway. You're welcome. I suppose talking isn't really a strong suit right now. Understood. Well, goodness, this is strange, isn't it? I haven't seen you for a while. It sounds like it's been awful. From what? Yes. I don't.
I'm just kidding. I can talk, but it's uncomfortable.
Well, I don't want to make you uncomfortable or in pain. There must be a better way we can do this. Is there?
Actually, yeah. So look like we can go downstairs. I just go downstairs and I do the same setup I did back home, but I do it now in the big screen.
Yeah, I'll follow him down.
As Kat and I are going, as we reach her room, I'm going to go. I discovered something whilst we were dealing with the car.
Yes.
Benjamin is bloodbound to his sire. Fully bloodbound.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, and as such, he's certainly pissed off Michael Chase. Which he is. From what he said, apparently he seems to go off not lightly, but that's going to bite us in the ass.
Probably.
You're not yourself.
I am what I am. I've got a lot of work to do.
Anything I can do to give you a hand? And while I'm hitting this shit out.
I would
hoping I'll
focus
fight.
on sorting yourself out. Maybe there will
I'll need
eventually.
a couple of nights and some blood, but I can highlight it's more. Well, I'm pretty sure you'll want me to stay a little more occupied now.
Well, before I head up, I suppose the only thing worth saying is, I suppose to reinforce what I said a couple of nights ago now. I'm grateful that you're here, and
It is good that even if it is only because of the binds of being thrown into this pit of London, even if it is only because of that, I suppose we have to look out for each other, and I can only say I am grateful for the attempts you have shown in recent nights. Well done with Chris, by the way.
Thank you. Although, I wish I had your ability to mess with someone's mind earlier that night. Seeing as 2 people saw Moses run past, I'm guessing he leaped off the under roof. That's what I'm guessing, the way they were looking at the window. Yeah.
Well, you never know. Maybe one day someone will teach you.
Could you?
Not right now. Maybe one day. It's not as blasé as you make it out to be.
No, it is not. But then again, it would also be useful in feeding,
Perhaps.
maintaining cover.
I will think on it, but for now I really must get on. I might come down later if the other 2 want to discuss anything. If so, simply knock on my door. I'll be right there. But good night for now.
Keep yourself safe. And watch out for this ghost that I'm looking around.
If it appears, it appears. I will always be watching.
Yeah.
And I disappear into my room with all my books.
And I head downstairs.
In the meantime, we have been having a conversation. I just went down hi.
Oh, I see what you're doing. That's very clever. Obviously, that looks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For Lucy.
Oh yes. Yes, that whole business with Chris was terrible. Is she all right? She seemed, as best as I could tell, fine, but
She was taken by the police.
well, I suppose that at least I'll look after her. That's a good thing.
I need to track her down.
Yes. Well, that's a good idea. And make sure that she's all right. Well, maybe I could help. Now, Jim mentioned that you had had a car accident.
Yes.
And is that all? I mean, obviously you're in a bad way, but I mean, apart from that, were there any other?
This was Plucky Jake.
Really? Oh my goodness! But
Actually, it was Rusty Joe.
I don't know him. But
I can introduce you.
I don't know. He doesn't sound like my sort of person. Is he a thin blood? Is he an enemy?
He felt pretty thick.
That's another joke, isn't it? Yes.
No,
Oh, then I'm confused.
it is a rusty shovel.
Plucky Jake hit you with a shovel. Oh, goodness. Oh no, you shouldn't. I'm sure that can't be good for you. It doesn't feel good for me. I'm just watching. So you're in trouble with Plucky Jake?
Not anymore.
Oh, so that was a sort of
Punishment.
right. Well, at least that's clear and done. That's good. I more meant with the car accident. Were there any other issues? You know, because often we seem to spend a lot of our time trying to clear up to make sure that there aren't other problems. I just wanted to make sure there weren't any other problems. You know.
Let's do a little list. 1. The wreck of my car.
Yes.
2.
Oh, your car's going to be easily linked to you, isn't it? Because of the...
Not me, Jonah.
Ah.
I think Jonah will have to disappear.
Yes. Maybe Jonah has not done well out of that accident.
No.
No. Okay. Right. Yes. Well, that seems easy enough.
2. Me running away from Jim, parentheses, the reason I crashed. He was ravenous. Close parentheses.
I mean, Jim's quite good at being scary normally. I imagine if he's hungry, that must be terrifying and very distracting.
Jim is very good at not being, like, at always being hungry. When was the last time you saw him not asking for help to hunt?
Do you know, it's a very interesting question because only tonight he asked me for that very thing.
What do you think I was doing 2 nights ago?
You were helping him feed.
Actually, I was taking him away from a park filled with little children when he was like really close to feed a small child on a swing.
Oh.
Like Of course I was fucking scared of him when I was driving around town.
Yes, well, no, that makes perfect sense. Well, the good news is he's fed now. He's fine. He's much better.
I like him when he's fed.
Yes, I'm much happier with Jim when he's fed. Agreed.
Well, but now that leaves us still with problem number 2. I was running away from him.
Oh, yes.
So we were having a little bit of an all-out brawl, vampiric scuffle. Me trying to get away from him, and him, for some reason, I believe he was trying to feed off of me. He was trying to grapple me.
So, are you saying that...
I just jumped from one building to another.
At what point in this conversation do I manage to get in?
Oh no, they're downstairs. You're back in the lobby. There's no one down there now.
No, I've been.
Are you going all the way down?
Yeah, I'm going all the way down.
Probably after whatever he says next.
You jumping off rooftops? That's quite a business. I mean, but that I don't see that's a problem, is it?
I broke a foot, and then I show you where I just healed my.
That doesn't look as bad as I thought.
No, but you can see the hole where the hole on the trouser that my bone made, and so it was like literally. Open the door.
Right. I'll open the door.
/CLS. That's clear clean. /CLS.
Hello, Jim. It's all right. Come in.
Right. Yeah. Moses, how you feeling?
We're making a list.
We're checking it twice.
We're on the list that the remains of that your car was torched.
I don't remember that it getting fire.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of petrol.
Yeah, I kind of had to put it alight.
We should say, you know the car we took Chris in?
Why?
But we've set that on fire too, but further away from town. I just thought I'd mention
trying to dispose of any evidence that they might find of us in the car, and also to dispose of a corpse.
I knew it was too good to be true.
Yeah, unfortunately that's how it is, and unfortunately this is when hitting fucking injuries.
Did someone die in the car accident? Did you crash into another car?
The security guy on the high visibility vest?
You remember the visibility vest you saw that we burned in?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
What? Oh no! So he was hit by the car. That's awful.
Move into my workstation, and I try to look information about the crash, the burn, and the victim, because I believe Jonah Sullivan is officially gonna die. I have a corpse there to prove it.
Wow, big whoop! Your alter ego
if they have not identified if they have not identified the body, I can try to make it look like it was Jonah Sullivan and died at his.
It'll take a bit of time for you to go hunting again into these kind of records, but it's something you can begin working on.
Yeah, I will start working on that and cobbling my new mask. That's what I have to do.
As he moves in, that agree. So I'm pretty sure you're going to be doing something in there.
List of things to take care of. 1, the car. Thank you. 2, people who might have seen us fighting.
That would be he would have been the only one.
Good.
Yeah.
3.
3. Well,
The mess at Lucy's house.
Yes.
Thanks, by the way.
You're welcome. Does this then make us even on the helping things? I mean, get to her rid of this mess you seem to be wanting to get rid of, and the help with Lucy. Does this then make us even on that?
I'm going to say maybe, because I tend to clean up your messes. That was not a mess of mine.
Let's not get too distracted from the list.
In addition to that, the cameras around the domain, I'm pretty sure you're going to be busy behind your computer, so if you show me how to fix them damn wires, I'll go around and fix them damn wires. Because I know you want another system up, but if we can get this current one fixed, we can have it up and running.
It won't be as efficient.
I think the 4 of us will need to work on that.
Oh, yes, well, we should probably get Katia here if we're going to get the 4 of us to do it.
I think.
But let's finish this list.
Did Katia seem all right to you? Because we got all those messages about things being urgent, and then it was like, I don't know, like as if it wasn't urgent. I don't really understand.
Something was clearly changed. I don't know what. Probably in clan business, which she would not discuss.
I would have thought she would have been quite happy because we found Chris Young and delivered them to the Tremere, and that was the important thing. That
My guess. She saw her sire at the Chantry, and remember, she doesn't like him very much.
Yes, I remember her saying something about that.
Or you remember that her ghoul was in the hospital? Maybe
Will is doing. Oh, we have to ask how Will is doing.
I have to ask Will doing because for all we know, I don't know how ghouls. The knife might have gone too deep. She might not be able to heal from that. She might be a corpse in the freaking
It's
morgue.
probably a good time that there might be a knock at the basement door.
/CLS. I'm just writing in DOS.
The door.
By the way.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Do you want to come in?
Yeah, hold on. I've just got to go do something, and I walk right past all of them. I'm carrying what looks like a bin bag of stuff.
Okay.
And I'm going downstairs into the tunnels. See you in a minute.
Right, another thing that I got to deal with for this little list is there's still that skull that I've got to deal with, plus the corpse of the torch Thinba, which are currently in the tunnels.
I start writing the list by hand. Because every time we start the list, then we start a very compromising conversation, and then I just clear the screen. So
again, that's something I can deal with, as I'll probably have a bit of time going around.
So
if you want to give me a hand with that, you're more than welcome.
What? Disposing of a skull?
I can give you a jaw. Hey.
There's the skull. Yeah, I can probably get you a new jaw.
So I could probably help in some way with getting rid of this body. I'm not exactly an expert, but I'm sure I can help out.
Yeah, well.
Now, I was wondering actually if you could help me out in a certain manner, Jim. Well, what it is, you see, is you were telling me that I would need to protect myself, and I didn't really understand at the time just what an incredibly violent lifestyle we were going to end up leading. And
you want me to teach you how to fight?
Well, it's yes. I mean, gently, because I suspect you're much better. Well, I know I've seen you. You're much better at this sort of thing. I just think, it would probably be a good idea at least to know something of how to do these things.
In addition to that,
wait by the door.
We discussed that we can do abilities. So, of course, in a fight, any sort of abilities that you have could prove useful. Like you've seen my claws; they prove very useful. So what can you do?
No, I was just thinking more like you've given me a knife, but I actually haven't. I mean, beyond eating a meal, I've not really had a lot of knife experience, and so it's the other thing I was thinking is sometimes you have to get quite physical when you feed. And it seems to me that knowing how best to hold people and things would make it less likely that I'd hurt them when I'm trying to feed, and that seems like a good thing to know. So that sort of thing, really.
Yeah, but then again, as I said, with the, of course,
I don't have any claws, I'm afraid.
No, you don't have claws, but what I'm asking is, what do you have? Because there is potentially a way of any ability that we could have to help.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, but the thing is, you see, most of the things that I'm very good at don't really involve violence. They involve, I don't know, seeing the world better, or making it so people don't really know I'm there, making them not really see the truth of me being there. Which is all it's wonderfully useful, but it's not very effective at, violence.
So you can spot your prey, which is when you're hunting. That is incredibly useful.
I'm not asking for why my abilities are useful. My sire was very clear on why they're useful, and he's absolutely right. It's just I want some help in some of the things that you're very good at, which is hurting people, and actually in some ways avoiding hurting people by being more effective. That's what I'm thinking. I think because you can say no. I'm just saying it might be useful. That's all.
What are you?
It's just otherwise, this knife's just going to sit in my pocket.
Yeah,
I'm not going to use it.
I look over at Moses to see what Moses is doing.
I'm leaning against the wall.
He's by the entrance of the tunnel down which Katia went.
I go like.
Just get it. All right, I'll give you some pointers. On
Yes, just a few pointers. I'm sure that's all I'll need to start with.
Yes.
Thank you.
We can make a start. Yeah.
So you were saying that we need all four of us to think about, working together on various things. I think when Katia comes back, we should. So helping you get rid of this body, I can do with that.
Yeah.
There are cameras to sort out. We need to. You're going to do all of that business with.
Need to get rid of the gurgler and the creepy.
Oh yes,
guy.
yes. So we know where they are.
And I keep adding items to the list.
Get rid of that.
Of list. Literally, I name the list loose ends.
So Katia was able to find Chris, and we found their haven. And we know that there are some others in the haven.
Yeah, you mentioned the subways.
Yes, and well, in the case of it seems to me that the Thin Bloods are our enemies. Yeah. And as much as I hate the idea of this, given what they have done to the people we care about, we can't just sit by and do nothing. So we have to get them and bring them in.
Fine foggy.
And it seems to me that it might also be good because the Prince wants us to deal with Thin Bloods, and it seems to me that perhaps we haven't been brilliant in our arrival in London as a group, and that maybe this sort of thing might,
I think our initial problem has been we have been coached by force. I think with all our variety of skills, it would be incredibly wise for us to become a coach by choice.
Yes, and yes, I think that's a good idea.
Because by choice means we're more likely to invest things into that, and we're more likely to give each other some help.
Why? I mean, like the letter Y, as in yes.
Yes, because it does, and please don't take this the wrong way, but looking at you, it does seem like help is the right thing that we should be doing for each other right now.
One thing what will be useful that may help future will be insert a load of rat traps in that tunnel, which will make it easier for getting the rats.
Actually, and there's probably like a being with a shit ton of rats.
About 12-ish, maybe.
I was a bit peckish.
Yeah, you can get them. I'm not so good with animals, so I'm more the one more likely to get busted up. So,
can we not? I mean, if you want to have rats, Jim, I'm not going to stop you.
I will take blood wherever the hell I can get it from.
Well, that's...
You guys are having this discussion.
At this point, I would probably have come back upstairs, but whilst I was in the tunnels, basically anything belonging to Will that was still in my room, I would have bagged up, and I've just left it in the tunnels for now.
Okay.
At this point, I'd probably come back up through the stairs and wherever you find blood, I hope that's just the domain.
Oh, yes. I think Jim completely understands the importance of always feeding in the domain.
That's why everyone trying to go for the rats then.
I think it's...
Be a wise idea to help me heal this and your jaw.
I have an idea.
I assume all of you know, by the way, I just want to reinforce the fact that we don't have any more chances.
one more breach, one more slip-up, we will all be put to death swiftly, and your sires will not make any difference.
I haven't made any breaches. What chance? I haven't done anything.
Listen, have I made it? I have not. Neither have I made any breaches, and yet I have been promised that if any of us cause any more upset, we will be put to death.
Oh, right.
I got it while breaching the Masquerade, trying to save Wills from being stabbed.
Oh.
It got caught on the video tape of McDonald's.
Oh no.
This is
I
my
assure you the
punishment.
whole of the Camera knows, not just your primogen.
As far as I know, it's just the clans, not Feratu and Tremere. Only those two clans are aware of it.
No, they're the two.
But the Tremere won't hesitate to share it, should it benefit them.
Sure, but Bucky Jake will probably have something on them that they don't want released.
I hope
they're
so.
good. I'll not
You
get
are-
into that discussion.
All right. So what you're saying is we can't afford to breach the Masquerade,
No,
We
nor
cannot
feed
afford to
outside
deny
our
it.
domain.
which I thought we weren't doing anyway. I mean,
Yes, I thought that was a bit of a prerequisite.
But all right. Yes. So we have to be very careful, which is fine. I'm very happy to be careful.
Reconnaissance on the other two Thin Bloods, you are welcome to it, but my clan knows exactly where they are, and I do not even know what they're going to do with.
So you believe that they will deal with the threat themselves.
I don't know. It might be something worth keeping tabs on. They didn't tell me to bring the rest of them in.
I'm just thinking that the prince wants them dealt with, and that would it not be a good way to show? I don't know.
Initiative.
I would love to go after them.
Well,
I sense a
well
plot.
then we know where they are. I mean, I can't believe I'm suggesting this. It's just that we know that they want us. If we don't do anything,
You said one of them was breathing.
yes, one of them had a heartbeat.
Then that one's going to have to die one way or another.
What? I thought that would be the one.
Remember, the
least-
Thin Blood is already dead.
Oh, do you think they were faking the heartbeat?
It's either that or it's a blood bag they're keeping with them.
A blood bag.
Either way, it's a masquerade risk.
Blood doll. I suppose that's a little bit more politically correct.
Human you keep close, nearby to feed.
I suppose the thing is that we know that they are willing to destroy themselves to get to us, and it'll only be a matter of time. I mean, I think that Chris was the and I don't know that woman's name, but those two seemed the most aggressive. But that's not to say that the others won't do something if we do nothing.
Yes.
And we know that it's not even that they'll necessarily come for us. They might come for people who have nothing to do with any of this and are just leading good lives and don't deserve this on their heads. And I don't think I can let that happen.
So one thing that I'm planning on doing, as I know, Lucy, do you know what happened to Lucy? Because last I saw her driving away.
She was taken by the police.
Would you like me to call the detective and see if he can just find out how she is?
Yes, please.
I don't
Also,
know.
regarding Chris and the lady,
Yes.
I think the only extremist was Chris, and I think she got burned by accident.
Well, I think our spectre ghost, whatever the fuck it is, sealed her in.
Oh,
so she dropped the lighter.
About that, I have severe misgivings about us just having this ghost that seems to randomly do things, sometimes quite scary things. What can we do? I know we had this discussion before, but I feel like things have escalated since then.
Okay,
As
first
far
things
as
first.
The
Let's-
first thing we know about this ghost is it wishes to protect this building.
Yes.
And we are, without an owner, without a resident, this building gets up to grabs for the highest bidder, or even worse, it's hardly in a desirable state, it could well be demolished. Now, we have an arrangement with Miss Mirovsky that we are taking care of our parts of the house in order to allow her to keep this place open. Now, if, as she suggested, this spirit is related to her in some way and we are keeping this place in her hands, I feel like we have nothing immediately, perhaps, to fear in terms of great danger from it. I don't know if there's some sort of a deal we can strike up. I do wish very much to communicate further with it. I have seen it now, at least.
So
might be a good idea for us to get something again, fix the fire damage. At least.
From what you said before, it didn't like it when they tried to attack the building.
No.
So perhaps, as you say, restoring the building might be a way to show that we are friendly.
I mean, we're not...
I agree.
Yes,
That
hang
would
on.
also bring business.
I know, but we're not even supposed to be here. This place is still cordoned off.
First things first. Why don't we make sure that our ghostly friend stays alone? No more spirits here. That means getting rid of every single body we have in the tunnels starting now.
I mean, we don't have that many in there, do we?
One body.
One whole body.
Probably
One
two.
whole body, one skull.
All right, so it sounds like we have a list of things to do, and we're agreed that we're going to try and work together to go through that list, because if we don't work together and we don't do all of this right and carefully, we'll all be dead. Yes?
Yeah.
And we're all in agreement, that's good, and we're going to start by clearing the bodies, and then as soon as we have permission, fixing the building.
My idea. Jim and Ben go take care of the body. Katia and I devise a plan for restoring the security cameras outside the haven, around the domain.
When
Right.
I get gentlemen, because I know.
Then we all together work to repair them. We need a plan first.
Yeah, I need a plan, and whilst doing things, because I know the address where Lucy is now, one thing that, with your permission, I would be intending to do is to scout the area so I know the location, as I've done with the domain. So, in case we need to go there, at least I know the layout of the area, just in case.
Okay.
Yeah, get a cordon protection over her.
I'm going to move a little bit towards the door, and I'll say, well, this has been very productive. Just one more thing. Michael Chase has made a point of saying he'd really like to see more of me in court, and I was rather hoping that some of you, perhaps Katia, might want to come along, just in case, because I really don't want to be on my own there. Brilliant, thank you. Bye. You're going.
Wait, Ben.
Yeah, yes?
Of course, I would love to join you in court.
Oh, that is such a relief. Thank you. Oh, good.
If there's anything you want to ask, please, I can tell you what I know.
Yes.
At least of
Oh no, I have a
court social
I have a
justice.
long list of questions. I'll compile them all and I'll come and talk to you.
I am quite keen to meet the other kindred of the city.
Yes, and actually my sire is very keen to meet you as well. So perhaps that will be a natural place to introduce you.
Well, if it's all the same to the rest of you, I have a lot of work to do. I might try and make a little headway with our housemate. If you need anything, let me know.
Yes, and obviously I'll be down shortly, Jim, to help with the business. And if you want any other help with the other matter, wonderful, good, great, good meeting.
Okay. So as they leave, I let them leave, but I just trail alongside Katia slightly longer.
Okay.
And then I hold her by the hand, by the arm when they're leaving.
Yes?
And I grab her hand and I put the gun on it. And I wink at her.
Thank you.
It was yours, right?
Yeah, I haven't got the first idea how to use it.
We can figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, it looks threatening, right?
First things first, as we begin rounding this off, I need a roll from you, please, Katia.
Oh.
You do.
And I just gave her a gun.
Rachel as well.
Rachel.
Okay. I think I remember what that one is. Yeah, pretty sure I do. Okay, so I believe I have the one dice.
One dice.
I wish I could have, done, something awful like torturing the same evening. I still have one dice to roll.
Yeah.
You'd have,
Damn it.
I believe you'd have
You'd have aggravated
aggravated willpower damage.
Yeah.
And as soon as you've got a full track, you're impaired and you can't voluntarily finish your...
Guess. That's a success.
Oh.
Katia's having a really bad night.
Yeah. But you eliminate all your stains. Whether or not you manage to hook onto another touchstone or something is something that we will look at.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, that brings us to the end of episode 10, and it also brings us to the end of book 1.
Oh. What?
Meaning not only do you guys get the experience points you normally get for that, but you'll gain an additional point for the end of the.
Do we have 15 yet?
14.
Well, I'm going to have to
Yes.
go over with everybody things like advantages and stuff and find out the final cost. But thank you very much, guys, for joining us tonight. Next week, we won't be starting book 2 immediately. However,
We will have something special to upload on the Monday, and then fingers crossed, you'll have something either every other day or every 3 days for that week. There's going to be basically stuff being uploaded throughout the week next week, and this will be this won't be on YouTube. I mean, there might be a version of it on YouTube, but this is going to be as part of the podcast. And obviously, as usual, Twitter and everything will be updated when it's live. And there'll probably be a few teasers as to what it is. You almost found out tonight. I mean, it's only by the graces of the technology gods that you didn't. But I think it's especially prudent given the events of today.
yeah. And then the Monday after, we will be back as per normal with the start of book 2.
And we'll be like second season anime characters who all know what they're doing. They're all like buffed up.
Bloody hope
New outfits and.
Oh gosh, we need
it's gonna
new
be
outfits.
great.
No,
We need to go
this is
forward.
staying.
There'll be a bit of downtime in
This
between.
is
I'll
staying.
have to discuss with all of you guys what you're focusing on during the downtime. You're not going to have enough time to do everything you want to. There's some things that require upkeep that may diminish if you don't.
Yep.
And there's some other things which may change parts of your character sheet if it's not done. But we will discuss all that in our downtime and get back to you guys next week. Not next week, the week after.
So
Thank
to
you.
recap, no blood on the Thames next Monday, but keep an eye on all our social media.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because there will be something on Monday.
There will.
Yeah.
We love you all. Thanks for
And there might
watching.
even be other stuff appearing on the channel. You never know.
Yeah, and we'll have other stuff all releasing, and then the Monday after we will be back with book 2, episode 11.
Yes.
Or however we're
Probably,
so-
we'll probably call it episode 11, I imagine, but
Yeah,
it'll
it makes it
be.
easier to follow. Anyway, thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you.
The Monday after.
Bye. There you go.
Bye.